We are early. Nobody can say shit to me, 'cause we are early. Welcome everybody. Good morning. It's happy Tuesday. Let me let the Discord know we're going live. They're going to be so proud of me. I killed it this morning. I'm heavily caffeinated. I got a good amount of sleep. I took some magnesium. So I'm ready to go. If you don't show up on a Tuesday morning full of magnesium and ready to go, what are you really doing with your life? Good morning, Kyle. Bryson, good morning. Thank you, Marley. It was nice talking to Q-Top yesterday. Yabba dabba do good morning. I'm so early that Felice will look like she's late. Thank you. Thank you, Indigo. I appreciate Yeah. A gift for me? Oh, I hope it's not Lauren Boebert, because I've moved on from Lauren Boebert. So I hope you did not kidnap Lauren Boebert as a gift for me. That would be terrible. What did I get? Oh, these are these people trying to do battles. I I used to. Why do people do battles? Why do they do them? Where is Real Host is coming? Real Host likes to make an entrance, so Real Host will be here when Real Host gets here. I'm just your warm up act. I'm the opener. Good morning. Hey, Backup. I haven't seen Backup in a long time. Good morning. Yeah, I was on with Q-Top last night at about I don't know. It was around like 7. I'm pretty sure he's been on my live before. I might have been wrong about that. I might have mixed him up with J-Man. Now that I think about it, it's possible that that's the first time we spoke. LRTP, thank you. Oh, there's Felice. Felice is a selfie dropped in the Discord. That's always a sign that she's about to be here. Aw. Well, listen. I didn't want to be alone anymore. Thank you. There will be we talked last night about just some different things as this show turns more, as we cover more news here. You'll see me more at nights. You may see me host some lives on my own, just like debate lives at nights. We we will be doing more of that stuff. So it could be a situation where I'm jumping on somebody else's live, like last night with Q-Top, or it could be just me. But there is a part of me that's like, man, I do miss debating sometimes. Like it wears old. It gets old debating the same people over and over every single day. So that's why we went in this direction, because it's more fun for me. Than I'll keep doing it, and if it's not, then I won't. 3% inflation. That's right, Danny. That's right. Felice, good morning,
Good
guys. Real
morning.
Host is here.
What are you doing on time?
I was early. Right now I'm putting on chapstick, but I can't do that on camera or else C Note goes crazy. It's a real problem. Yeah, 9:28 for me is when I showed up. That's who I am, Felice. I'm early. Where are you?
I am coming.
Giving me this. It's not lip gloss. It's Carmex. It's medicated. Carmex. Do your lips need medicated lip protectant? Call Carmex. See if we
I
can get a
love
sponsorship out
Carmex.
of Carmex there.
This is Burt's Bees tinted lip balm. I highly recommend.
They they were accusing me of using lip balm, but I do use lip balm. I don't know where it is actually. Oh, there it is. I also got the lip
Carmex
balm.
is lip balm.
Well, it's chapstick, well, I don't know. I guess it's I call all. Do you call everything that's like in a container like this chapstick?
If it's a stick,
It's a stick.
it's a stick to unchap your lips. You know what I'm saying? If it's not in stick form,
It's
yeah,
stick
that's a,
form.
so that's chapstick is probably because it's a stick.
Well,
Hence why
also
the
'cause the
name.
brand is chapstick. That's what I was
Well,
wondering.
yeah, chapstick's a name brand. But
It's
I'm
kind of
just
like
saying,
in
like, I
in the
would think
South, like
if
you
you're gonna
order a
say
Coke,
chapstick,
like
yeah, or
all
like Kleenex is a name brand, or Jacuzzi.
or Republican. Also a name brand. Did you see? I added two things to the top of your First of all, unbelievable work today on the research.
Yep,
Let's
love
make you
doing. Yep.
uncomfortable right off the bat with a compliment.
This is what I do in my head every morning. I just wrote it down. That's
This is just in your head.
this is
Felice
what I
sent
do
me.
every morning. What do you think I do in the mornings?
I don't know. My brain is not that organized. I don't know what you do in the morning.
Well,
I assume a lot of research, but you got a lot of research for us today. So do you want to jump right in?
well, wait, hold on a second. I just
Okay.
got here. Okay, first of all, let's tap the screen. We want to get some opposition, some Republicans in here. So let's tap the screen. Let's get to 15K and share this live with your favorite or least favorite Republican. And if not, then just push the copy link button because that counts as sharing as well.
Who's your favorite
Yeah.
Republican?
Oh, what do you mean my favorite Republican? I don't,
This could
that's
be
hard for
favorite
me.
Republican on TikTok or just favorite Republican in general. It's hard, huh?
Gavin Newsom.
Gavin Newsom's your favorite Republican
Yep.
because he's a neolib.
Yeah.
You could
I
have
think,
a really
I
good
mean, that's hard for
conversation.
me as someone with a uterus, as
That's true.
someone whose father is African American and indigenous. Like, I mean, there's a lot of, through social engineering, the Republican Party is essentially trying to engineer a lot of parts of things about me out of existence. So it's hard to say favorite, but yeah, there are some like that I probably, I don't know, appreciate more than others. Like I disagreed with everything John McCain ever did, but I was born in Arizona and I saw like him, how much he cared, about
Yeah.
the state and stuff. No, I never agreed with anything he did, but I would never deny that that man was like a war hero who gave a shit about this country in a way like I think few people did.
Yeah, one of the things that's been tricky switching parties is coming to terms with most of the people that I know now, the people that I talk to about politics now, they're obviously mostly on the left. And they view some of the people that I grew up thinking these are like the greatest people. They view them as evil. And it's actually tricky for me. When somebody says something like John McCain is evil or George Bush is evil, like that stuff is still really tricky for me. I've never gotten to the point where I can be like that person's evil. Like stupid, misinformed, misplaced beliefs, sure, but um, a lot of this Trump rhetoric has kind of made me more aware of the way that we speak about people and the way that some of our politicians act and the motives that we ascribe to them. Right? That
Yeah,
makes
well,
sense.
I think yeah, I think at some point if you want to be in the United States Congress, like the burden of information is on you to learn, to know, to understand what's going on in the world and what you're voting for to a certain extent. But I also do recognize, yeah, 100%, like the way I was indoctrinated as a child, but like I think the reason I came out of it and fought against it was just there was a lot of abuse going on. So like I knew, okay, this is obvious hypocrisy. Everything I'm learning about evangelical religion and everything, like nothing is the same behind closed doors in our home. But outside of that, I was a minority. Like I was a woman. So I was like, wait, everything the Republicans are doing are disenfranchising me. But to me, when I see like the majority of Congress is, white Republican men or whatever, or of the Republicans, when I see them, you have no reason to question what you're being told if you're not uncomfortable with it.
Yeah.
Like, like when you had a daughter, I'm sure you started thinking a lot differently like about things that were going on, how like there was legislation being brought against women because now you're like, "Oh man, this is going to affect my familial like
Yeah.
daughter."
Yeah.
And so I think with white Republican men, just because the way legislation goes, it's not touching you. Like you're not
That's right.
suffering, you're not being socially engineered out of existence. So yeah, you can have like an LGBTQ family member and thank God. So not to say it never touches them, but when it's not affecting you directly, it's very hard to say, oh, you have no reason to question things. So I do understand that. I took a lot of sociology classes,
That
a
makes
lot of
sense.
things about cult ideology, and no, I don't blame anyone for their beliefs. We're all victims of circumstance, the families we were born into, the cultures we grew up around. And yes, it is all of our responsibility to dismantle that, to question things, to seek knowledge. But I just think we're in a capitalist economy where we're all trying to survive. So how much can we fault anyone?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I didn't think of it that way. First of all, I gotta say, being a straight white male, pretty fucking good gig. Honestly, it's a pretty good gig. You get to be emotionally detached from almost everything because it doesn't affect you. I gotta tell you, just from one friend to another, it's a good gig. I
That's
wish
great
this
from
kind.
this
I
view.
wish this on
I'm
everybody.
jelly.
I wish it on
I'm jelly.
everybody. I wish everybody had it. But somebody in the comments mentioned Hamlin's razor, and I think that's a good point. That
Hamlin's right? Isn't it Occam's razor?
well, there's Occam's razor. This is Hanlon's razor. So
Okay,
Hanlon's
go ahead.
razor is never attribute to malice that which can adequately be explained by stupidity, and I do think that that is very not apparent. That's not the word I'm looking for. I'm not looking for apparent. I think that for Congress, when you're explaining a lot of this stuff that you can't explain, like why would they vote for this? Why would they say this? Why don't they have their facts right? That's the actual point. Once you get to Congress, you have all this attention. There's all this new stuff. There's stuff we don't talk about with people in Congress. For example, if you look at, let's go with our favorite with Bobo. Who, by the way, I've abandoned Bobo. I'm going to keep saying this in case people aren't here. I've abandoned Bobo because she took off her glasses, and I was like, oh no. It's like the opposite of
It's because
every.
you were embarrassed out of it.
I was embarrassed before I said it. I already knew it was bad. It was the glasses. But anyways, you look at these people, how they dress before and after they go to Congress. Even you can look at AOC even the same way. When you go to Congress, not only do you have a salary, not only do you have power, not only do you now have health insurance, not only do you now like have transportation to a lot of like you have invites to everything, but you also now have this budget for nice clothes, and it's like you're immediately once you're put into Congress, you're immediately put into a different world, and you're immediately hit with a whole bunch of new stuff, and you're trying to reconfigure your life and figure out how to do that. And I think in that time, in that whirlwind, because we allow them to do so much, to have so much access, to have so many donors. Once they get into that world, I was thinking about this, like, how would you actually have the time as a congressperson, if you're an active congressperson, to research these ideas? Like the money that we've brought into politics doesn't only hurt us with corruption, but it hurts us with time. People are not able to learn things. People don't take time to discuss things with each other. When you're in Congress, you choose to either be like a person who's behind the scenes or in front of the camera, and you're one or the other. You don't get to do both. There's no way to do both. And
Yeah,
so
no.
yeah, so you look at some of these, especially how the Republicans have handled. You have so much good stuff on this, but the impeachment, the Joe Biden impeachment stuff, and you wonder how they can get so many things wrong. Well, this is why. Specifically, James Comer. He spends all fucking day on TV, and he's just handed talking points, which is why consistently, over and over, he looks stupid. What do you want to go in order? But I added
Well, you
something
can. I
that
mean, if you want to trash him, you can take the lead on it. But I was just gonna say, like, I think with James Comer, like, it's very much more of like as a person who used to work in advertising, it's which is just psyops, like where you reverse engineer ideas into people's heads. Like, and also I worked in marketing and PR, so this first is a PR cover. Like, why is James Comer bringing out evidence to that is obviously not evidence and humiliating himself? Because of Liz Cheney's book. Like, they're trying
yes,
to run cover for what is coming out of Liz Cheney's book, and they're trying to loudly do it, and it's embarrassing because they have nothing. But this is like PR 101. Like, look over here. Like,
yeah.
please pay no attention to Liz Cheney's damning book.
Let's talk about like a little bit more in depth in advertising. When you're talking about reverse engineering things, are you saying? Because I think this is what happens in politics. I think what a lot of times, especially now that it's so partisan, you start with the conclusion and work backwards, right?
Yeah,
That's what you're
or
saying.
it's what you want people to think. What do I want people to feel? What do I want people to tell other people? And it's you're it's what you people will end up doing. Like there's a recent Harvard study that came out. Like we have no free will. You think that these
Yeah.
ideas are your own. You think you like things that you like. I can tell you that you don't. But
Yeah, I know that that's true because ever since I met you, I've become far less of a capitalist, and not because it has nothing to do with like your ideas suck. I don't really like them because it's a lot of change, it's a lot of chaos. Before then, it's a lot of like, it's a lot of stuff that I don't see happening. But the more and more we discuss it as a new idea, um, I become more and more open to the idea of living socialism. But that's because I feel like I'm lucky that I abandoned an ideology. Like it's gone. I have no real connection to an ideology, to ideas, to a political party. Like I'm clearly on the left, but I have no problem abandoning the left at any time if they no longer advocate for policies that I think are sensible. But that's difficult. Like that's what's so weird about our political system is we are so stuck in working backwards on all of our solutions and not just like letting the chips fall. This whole Republican, should we call it a witch hunt? Are we ready to do that yet?
oh, I mean, it's beyond a witch hunt. Yeah, this is a witch hunt.
Let me find this clip. I don't know if
Just
you
women aren't
watched,
getting burned at the stake at the end, but it's
which is
it's a
which is good.
metaphorical witch hunt. I mean, what witch hunt means in today's culture.
So
Absolutely.
so here's Trump yesterday, reading. He's talking about what same things you're talking about, like Republicans seeing money from the Bidens and not understanding what the fuck happened. So here's Trump making a claim against Biden that you've heard many people. He said it in the debates. He's saying it again now, and you're hearing it repeated a lot. But let me, especially on TikTok, let me get this for you.
Remember during the debate, I said to Joe Biden, I said, how come the mayor of Moscow's wife paid you $3.5 million? And Chris Wallace, how's he doing, by the way? Chris Wallace was the moderator. You shouldn't be allowed to ask that question. I said, well, it's true. The mayor of Moscow's wife paid this family $3.5 million. Why did they get it? What did they do that was worth $3.5 million? They weren't able to explain it. Now it's turned.
Do you know this story?
No, I don't.
Okay, well, this has Rudy Giuliani written all over it, and you'll see why in a second. So,
Oh yeah, I could figure that.
well,
This
I
is
don't
a
know if it's
joke.
him or not, but it's a very Giuliani
It,
mistake.
oh,
So,
this has like the Giuliani tour to find dirt on Biden all over it.
yeah, so when Trump says the Bidens had no explanation for it, they were literally like, yeah, we never got through. Like, Hunter's like, I never got 3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow's wife. That did, yeah, I can't explain that. And here's why. Hunter Biden started a company called Rosemont Seneca Advisors. That was an investment company. He was the co-founder of it, and this money was sent in 2014 to a company called Rosemont Seneca Thornton. It is not the same company. This is Four Seasons all over again. Republicans on TV, not just Donald Trump, but prominent Republicans on TV consistently talking about this $3.5 million that went to the Bidens from the mayor of Russia to a company that Hunter Biden, Joe Biden, Jill Biden, Ralph Biden, uh, none of them have a connection to Rosemont Seneca Thornton. Rosemont Seneca Thornton has nothing to do with Rosemont Seneca Advisors. They're not even remotely the same thing. But Republicans continue to push this. And the reason they do is because, just like Trump, he's just handed some shit that he believes. And because it sounds good, because it beats up on Joe Biden, he's just going to go out there and say it. This is the time when you start. This is the time when bad views starts making a whole lot of sense. When you're like, how did they get this many things wrong? They can't be that stupid, right? They can't. There can't be nobody in the room went, hey, those are two different company names. Did anybody check? Like somebody in the room caught that, but they don't care. The job is, and this is the Trump strategy. It was the schmatzy strategy. Steve Bannon probably says this while he finishes. But basically, it's to flood the flood the airways with information. So much so, and so
With
much
shit.
misinformation that there's no way to determine what's real and what's not. And so they just do this. They do it every single day, and that's what blew me away. Reading through your outline today, we'll go into them, but like every piece after piece after piece after piece of misinformation that is so obviously misinformation that like a 12-second Google search gets you the right answer.
Yeah, it's unreal. I don't know. Yeah, I think it is. That's the point, to flood the information airways with shit. Like that's one of the first psyop strategies is confuse everyone. Confusion is the point. And if you're trained like Republicans to just click like rage click fear mongering, if you're down the alt right YouTube alt right pipeline, you're angry and you're just hearing thing after thing, piece after piece of what you think is evidence against Joe Biden. They question nothing, and here we are with the Biden crime family. Not one credible shred of evidence yet. And financial crimes, there is always evidence, and it's not witness testimony. It's just show us the bank transactions, just for once.
Just yeah, well, and this is the problem. So maybe that's where we go first. Maybe we go to the loan. Do you want to cover that one first? The Joe Biden loan?
Oh yeah,
Let me find
sure.
it. Was that Washington Post?
No, it's just under B. So here's
You got
here
it?
we it's I want to say, yeah. Well, I'm gonna play the recording. This is
Okay.
hilarious. Um, Let me play.
I really should just
Actually,
get my backup phone. It's way easier than tilting my thing.
yeah, I was gonna say. I just realized I don't want to do it that way. Okay, so James Comer, if you know what's going on in the news, James Comer came out like, ironically, the same, right in line with Liz Cheney's book tour of just revealing about everyone in Congress being an insurrectionist. Like, James Comer comes out with his latest bombshell, like they have proof of payments, and let me just play this clip for you because I think
A lot of people, including here's a tweet from an analyst that says that these are just payments already reported in the media for a truck that Joe Biden bought for his son. He says, I don't think fronting a son money for a truck is an impeachable offense. He says another swing and a miss. Your response to that?
That's bullcrap. Look, if he wanted to send his money to his son for a truck, then send him money for his truck. But he got paid back from China. So it doesn't.
You got a lot of people, including...
Wait, he did send money to his son for a truck. That's what happened. What's
Yeah,
James Comer
there's
talking
emails.
about?
Yeah, so Jamie Raskin just dragged, Jamie Raskin, one of my favorite constitutional lawyers, like the smartest people in the country, literally just dragged him yesterday on Twitter, like showed emails of like the receipt for the truck payment, was
Yeah,
like
and
just
it was just like three monthly payments, right? It was a total of
yeah,
like
yeah,
40.
3 monthly payments. It was a Ford Raptor in 2018. There is a literal photo of Hunter Biden shaking hands with the car lot guy in front of the truck.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's emails of like, here is the payment, in like whatever $1,380 like bunch. Here is the $1,380 payment. There's emails. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, well, and just so you know, so this comes from an initial email. There's a PDF of it. It's Hunter talking, and I think through maybe a secretary. Uh, I don't know who Katie Dodge is. Do you know who that is?
Mm-mm.
Okay, I think it's maybe like a secretary or a financial advisor, something. So there's a PDF of Hunter saying like, so Hunter was waiting on payment, obviously because he's able to pay all this back. But he went to his dad and he's like, hey, here's the bills I have due. I can't cover them. He sends this PDF, and there's a email back saying, I talked to Hunter with the bills. It's my understanding that Hunter's dad is going to cover these bills in the short term as Hunter transitions in his career. I have a list of the current bills of which I'm aware. I've attached the list below. I'm sure we'll need to go over this to make a smooth transition. Also, as understandable, I'll no longer be working with Honey. Well, this is just. Oh, okay. So she's in the company that he was with before. So Joe Biden just basically agrees to cover all these bills. But then what the Republicans do, because they're so desperate to find something, there's on this bill, there's a storage, there's something called Sidwell. I don't know what that is. There's UPenn. What would UPenn be? $28,000.
University of Pennsylvania,
Is
but
that
also UPenn Center. That's where Biden has his like offices. The University UPenn, it's like a center downtown. The University of Pennsylvania like owns a bunch of things, so it could be a lot of things.
okay?
Or he could have a payment to them for some reason. For I don't know where he went to law school. Actually, I think he went to law school in Delaware.
Excuse me. So these are not the bills due. These are the bills that he has to pay every month. Excuse me. That's what this is. These are the bills he has to pay every month, and it shows that on there's a reimbursement to JRB, which is obviously Joseph Robinette Biden. Cool middle name, by the way. I don't think Joe Biden gets enough credit for having Robinette as a middle name, and I wish he went by Robinette Biden. I think that would be a much cooler name. For 1380. So they go through each one of these, and they find that the money that went to Joe Biden came from Hunter Biden's company, and Hunter Biden's company had contracts with China. That's the whole thing. That's the whole fucking thing. He paid them through his company. He paid Joe Biden through
Not
his company
from China.
for a reimbursement, and that company happens to have contracts with China. That's the whole thing. For everybody who is so upset that Donald Trump got impeached over the perfect call and the insurrection, like, again, at least there was, I'm okay with that. I actually think that there's some wiggle room on the perfect phone call, the Ukraine thing. I think it was probably the right thing not to remove him from office for that. I don't know that the evidence was compelling enough to say, like, he definitely did this, even though I think he did that. But there's nothing here. We're now 3 years into the Biden presidency. From on day one, the same shit that they complain about every time. Literally day one, articles of impeachment were filed. For every fucking person who comes up, he went down the golden escalator and they came at him. Day fucking one. And before he ran for president, you had the sitting president working with Ukraine and Russia trying to get dirt on him. Everything, again, you've said this a million times, everything they say is just a self-report. It's a reflection on what they're doing. But there is not a single solitary shred of evidence that Joe Biden has done anything wrong. And this is where, when we look at the polling, and the recent polling looks good for Donald Trump, this is not good for Trump. This is great for Joe Biden. Every time one of these stories comes out, and then it just goes away, that causes people to care less and less and less. And in Trump's
The same way
situation,
people are desensitized to Trump's crimes, they become desensitized to the news about Biden, which is the point. But wait, now that you've said, like, we explained everything about what James Comer is accusing Joe Biden of, let me just show you the video he put out. I just want you to listen to the clip he put out, right?
put this
So
out?
now you know what the truth is about the truck payment. So I'm just going to play Comer's expose, like a little part of his expose video that he put out.
President Joe Biden claimed there was an absolute wall between his official government duties and his family's influence peddling schemes. This was a lie. President Joe Biden claimed his family didn't receive money from China. This was a lie. President Joe Biden claimed he never spoke to his son, Hunter Biden, about the Biden's family's shady business dealings. This was a lie. Now, Hunter Biden's legal team and the White House's media allies claim Hunter's corporate entities never made payments directly to Joe Biden. We could officially add this latest talking point to the list of lies. Today, the House Oversight Committee is releasing subpoenaed bank records that show Hunter Biden's business.
So that's the story. That's his story. Like, do you understand how it's saying none of that is true? Like,
right?
What?
Even some of the things that
It's
Joe
delusional.
Biden,
But if you heard that, and it came from the chairman of the Oversight and Accountability in the U.S. Congress, like, how much is the burden of the proof on the people? You know, like, people are hearing that and like, that's official. Not true, but
yeah, this is where it's gotten silly. It really is a national embarrassment. The Republicans are a national embarrassment, and not because of their views. Like, it's because of shit like this. There's no reasonable person without, if you don't have skin in the game, if you're just looking at this evidence, no person would say Joe Biden is corrupt. No one. Nobody without bias would side with James Comer on any of this. There is literally not a single shred of evidence. Even the stuff he says that Joe Biden said there was a complete wall between him and his son's business. Well, what does that mean? What do you mean by that? Do you mean that Joe Biden didn't have any say in his son's business? Well, then yeah. But what they're trying to say is, oh, well, he talked to his son sometimes about his business. Oh, like a dad? Like a dad asks their son how's business? Like my
How's
dad
it
every
going?
time I
Like
talk
that's
to him?
what the Devin Archer transcript revealed. Was
Yeah.
that Joe Biden was like, oh, like they'd be like doing, at a business meeting, his dad would call and say like, "Oh, how you doing?"
Yeah.
Like,
That's what happens.
It's
When you're old. I don't know. How, your dad's a little bit older. Have
well,
you
yeah,
noticed
yeah.
the older they get, the more they start wanting to call you and talk to you about everything? I don't know if that was the relationship
Well,
you
my
had with your
family
dad.
is not normal. No,
Yeah,
my
well,
dad doesn't make outgoing calls. But no, like, yeah, he's definitely softer and like he care, like, and I care more. Like he's, not his health is getting worse as he gets older. So like, yeah, we're closer.
yeah,
But
this is
just
Joe
the
Biden
real
just
truth is
trying.
during this time period is when the brother was dying. So both Hunter was in a very dark place and Joe Biden was in a dark place, and so they were checking on each other constantly.
Let's also keep in mind at this point Joe Biden was not holding office. These were during the Trump years. These emails are from January 17th, 2019. Joe
Yeah.
Biden was not in office. So even if any of this stuff were true, still what is it? What's the impeachable offense here? Even if Joe Biden lied about all of this, what's the offense here? What did he do wrong? Where's the crime? I don't. You haven't come close to showing me that he lied about it. But even if I grant you that he lied, what happened? What really happened here that was so bad?
It's embarrassing. It's a never-ending embarrassment. Like you said, it's an embarrassment. Like there's no other words. You guys tap the screen. Let's get to 50K. Let's get some Republicans in here. Republicans, if you're in here, we'd love to talk to you. We'd love to hear some opinions about James Comer's latest expose, whether you believe it. Like, please come up and tell us and share the live. All I want for X is Felice to marry me. Okay,
Oh,
Kevin, I'll consider it.
Kevin, if you get a Republican up in the box with us, that will go a long way to help you with Felice. I think.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
don't want to
Thank
speak
you,
for
Kevin.
Felice. Hey, I like the purple today, by the way.
Oh, thanks.
You're welcome. The next one I had up was Grandpa Grumpy is ranting tonight about how unfair. You had a good day
Trump's
on
feeling
Ron.
sorry for.
You had a good day on Ron Filipowski's Twitter. It was a good morning for
Oh,
Ron
he's my
Filipowski.
favorite. He's been my before what he is now, which is like editor in chief of like content for, Midas Touch. Like he was my favorite political strategist. Like he's worked on campaigns after campaigns for years. Like he worked for the Republican Party. He's a never Trumper that defected. He's probably one of the smartest people. Like how I love the
brilliant. Oh,
intelligent
he's brilliant.
people. He's absolutely brilliant. So yeah, like I love Ron Filipkowski.
Let me play this real quick. I've got it queued up.
Put their leading political rival, me, in prison. Let's put him in prison. He's leading by a lot. There's no way we can beat him. Let's put him in prison. They're running police state operations to infiltrate the Catholic Church as if it were a communist country. They're persecuting Christians and pro-life activists. They're persecuting anybody they want to persecute. They've labeled ordinary Republicans and parents at school board meetings as potential domestic terrorists. They're resettling millions of migrants into our communities, destroying our country like it's never been destroyed before. They're calling our citizens criminals. They rigged the last election. They rigged the Democrat primary, and they're trying to get their right.
Can we point out that like 14 seconds ago he was calling all Democrats like criminals, Marxists, communists, vermin, and now he's upset that what's the thing about the Catholic Church? We're now
No, that's from Ohio. Listen,
What is
that's
that?
so overblown. No, what that is, that had to do with something that happened in Ohio. Like it's not the Catholic Church. There is a sect of the Catholic Church, like this like weird offshoot, like that was being monitored for domestic terrorism. And there's a memo that went out, an internal memo in the FBI that was kind of like, oh, something needs to be done about this. But it didn't specify it was talking about a domestic terrorist sect, an offshoot of the Catholic Church. It just said the Catholic Church. So that memo was made public by like a whistleblower. And ever since then, the narrative is that Christians are under attack, but it was really just a domestic terrorist cell in Ohio that was under investigation.
Which, by
That's
the
what
way,
it is.
yeah.
That's what it is.
Well, I guess then some Christians are under attack. I guess some of them are.
Yeah. Just the domestic terrorists
And
who
this is
happen to also be Christians.
same guy who, by the way, is saying day one I'm reinstituting the Muslim ban. Which, didn't the courts rule that unconstitutional? Didn't the Supreme Court rule that unconstitutional?
I'm not sure if they did or not.
I thought they did.
Probably. It's very unconscious. It's a human right. Like it's not something that could go on. That's why we don't recognize the world courts.
Yeah, that's the same
All
guy.
the bigoted things we're up to.
Oh no, they upheld it. Never mind. 5-4. Okay, so it's gonna stand
Yeah,
because this Supreme Court fucking sucks. Great.
That's the precedent
Great.
he's using to reinstate it. When he's elected, he's reinstating it and then using the stay in Mexico policy that the Supreme Court upheld for so long to close the borders because there's disease, on the basis of disease. The COVID-19 argument he used. He wants to reuse that argument.
All right. Well, Grumpy Grandpa, sorry.
Grumpy Grandpa's having a very bad day.
This would be a good time to go to his truth
True
about
social.
his truth about Lincoln Project.
He's very.
Have you seen that ad? By the way, it's a great ad.
I love the Lincoln Project. Listen, this is my thing. Like, I know I'm always on like the like neo-libs and the neocons and like the never Trumpers, because I do wish that the neo-libs would move farther left and align with the progressives. Obviously, progressive is the new word for socialist in this country, if you don't know. But anyways, but like I love the Lincoln Project, but me, the competitive Division I athlete, the winner in me, the advertising exec in me sees what the Lincoln Project does and thinks, why can't the Democratic Party fight like the Lincoln Project? We need the never Trumpers, because you don't see us producing content like they produce that is just ripping Trump to shreds on a daily basis. You don't see them having pundits like that. Where are the Democratic pundits ripping Trump to shreds daily? What the Lincoln Project does is it's a master class. They came from the Republican Party. The Republicans have always fought dirty. They've always fought. The Democrats need to take a page from the Lincoln Project and start fighting like this.
Here's what I love about specifically I think the Biden campaign is probably the most well-run campaign team I've ever seen. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that they already had 2 presidential election cycles with Obama. He brought on a lot of those people. They knew what they were doing. But what they've done a great job of doing is staying above the fray, but every once in a subtly pointing to some shit. Joe Biden will be like, "Hey, did you see that Lincoln Project video?" And that'll be it. Right? He's not going to go on. He's not going to rant and rave. And the Democrats, it's the first time I've ever seen them play something right ever. Ever.
Well, do you
ever.
know, do you follow Joe Biden's amazing Twitter handle? Not the POTUS one, but the Trump Harris handle, where he just points out every time Donald Trump is senile, every slight, Joe Biden, in Joe Biden fashion, every time someone looks stupid, he's just or it's Harris Biden or Biden Harris. I don't know, look it up. But every time, it's just him subtly dragging all day long with just clips. Every time someone in the Republican Party looks stupid.
But that's the thing. That's our job. That's my job. It's your job. It's everybody here who's listening. It's your job. Our job is to do the messaging. We're not the same party. We're not going to look to Joe Biden to give us the messaging. We're not going to look to our leaders necessarily to give us the messaging. It's our job. And if we can, this is what Democrats maybe don't realize that they've done well. when you look at Roe v. Wade, and then when you look at when it has returned to the states, and the states have had the opportunity where it's a ballot initiative, the states largely are saying, yeah, we want to protect abortion. We want to protect abortion rights. And that's because of the messaging that's been done like societally. That wasn't political messaging. That's something where people one-on-one spoke with each other, people had discussions, and slowly but surely our culture changed. And that's the part that I think we as Democrats, moderates, super liberal, whatever you want to do, like pointing out these little things to your friends, pointing out the silliness of the Republican Party. If you can figure out a way to do it and still remain friends with your friends, I'm not great at that. I'm learning. If you can do that, that's how we win. That's why all the polls keep being wrong. Every poll basically has undersold what Democrats were going to do every election since 2016, and it's because of that. It's because you don't have a bunch of like foaming at the mouth liberals. You have a bunch of people who are like, yeah, I've got a line. This is my line. I'm not crossing that line. If Republicans are over here, I'm not voting for them. And they just keep voting for Democrat. And they're doing it silently and quietly, but because Democrats have won the social war. And you see that in every fucking Charlie Kirk rant you'll ever see, is that he knows that Democrats are winning the culture war.
Oh, Charlie Kirk, he's a plague on us all. He's just not making no signs of stopping. God.
He can't live much longer. There's no
What are you talking
more...
about? He's like 26 or something.
Yeah, but there's not enough skin to cover his ever-growing dome. It's eventually the skin is just going to rip apart. His head can't keep growing at this rate.
I feel like
it's a real problem.
Big head. I think I have a big head, so I don't know if I should.
I've seen. We've been friends for a little bit, but I've seen your content for years. Your head has remained the same size. I don't. It's hard to tell
so
from
it's
here.
just the expanding size of his head.
Yeah, go look
is
at his
the
head
issue.
from 3 years ago. It's like a 33% increase. That head is a real problem.
Okay, I just want to give the name of this Twitter handle I'm talking about. It's Biden at Biden HQ if you want to follow it, and it's just him with like subtle drags all day long of people, Trump especially, but just it's pure gold. If you want like a way to follow the president and enjoy it, and it's funny and relatable and being like, oh, I love what's going on here. Like, I stopped looking at his regular Twitter. I probably shouldn't, but
He's not writing that shit anyways. It's okay to miss
I know
it.
it's just all the good stuff. You know what I mean? It's like it's all the good stuff that we love on TikTok, you know. So I highly recommend that Twitter channel. Also, let's tap the screen. Let's get to 75K again. Do we?
The
If there are any
handle again?
Republicans in here, let's please request. We would love to speak to you. And I'm gonna read this Donald Trump post because I never read it.
Can you give the handle again? It was at Biden H.
At Biden HQ.
There you go. It's pretty.
At
Yeah, I'm looking at it. It's
headquarters.
pretty funny. Okay, let's get this. It's a truth. So I need you to correctly identify that this is called a truth, not a
this
tweet,
is,
not a statement. This
Trump's
is a truth.
truth social post,
Yeah.
like one of his first posts today. Okay. Can't even do it.
Can you
the
look at- can we
perverts
see-
and
hold on.
losers.
Before you go, can we just talk about his profile picture? This is a former United States president, a person running for
it's
office
been
right
like,
now.
what are you
His
talking
profile
about?
picture.
He's retruthing cat turd daily. We have bigger problems than the profile
His
picture.
profile picture
His
is an
number
AI.
one advisor is a man that no one knows his name in Florida who wants to be called cat turd. Like
It's Donald Trump with his face painted as an American flag. That's what his profile picture is. Now
we are in dire. Do you think cat turd will be in his cabinet? Do you think he'll-
100%. Cat Turd. Do we
Just
know who Cat Turd
let
is?
him run the DOJ. Let him bring the investigation, the target investigations against the Marxists and the communists. Okay, so here we go. The perverts and the losers at the failed and once disbanded Lincoln Project and others are using AI, artificial intelligence in their fake television commercials in order to make me look as bad and pathetic as crooked Joe Biden. Not an easy thing to do. Fox News shouldn't run these ads because they run ads on Fox to humiliate him.
Yeah.
Just as low ratings CNN and MSNBC or MSDNC,
Thank you.
oh,
Get that
excuse
right.
me, will not under any circumstances run negative ads on Biden or the Democrats. They are, after all, in-kind campaign contributors to the Dems.
Cool. Cool.
He's really trying to control the media. Like, it's going to be really scary when he gets office and does like a Putin.
Now, real
Like,
quick, those are not AI.
No,
they
those
may
are
be
just
using
him.
AI for something, but the videos
They're
and
not.
images of him are not AI. They might use
No, they're
AI
definitely
for
not.
writing a script or for making a storyboard, but those are real videos of Donald Trump. So,
No, they said, like, the Lincoln Project said, no, these are just videos of you. Like,
yeah. Yeah. So I guess he
yeah,
looks.
so I mean, no, he's just trying to tell his people, like, don't believe the ads when you're watching Hannity and Jesse Waters. You know what I mean? Because that's just AI. That's not me looking senile.
Can I ask now the end of this is a little confusing to me. They are,
Yeah.
after all, in-kind campaign contributors to the Dems. Well, the campaign is paying the TV station. The TV station isn't giving these ads away for free.
Is this
These are not
capitalism or is
these
it
are
not
not
capitalism?
well, mostly they're not campaign contributions. Because the
Oh, of
campaign
course
is
they're not.
contributing to them. They are not contributing to the campaign. These are not in-kind campaign contributors. That's not how this works. Mr. Wharton School of Business, by the way, Wharton School of Business runs a fine
It's
company in the
tough.
Trump organization. Doesn't understand. He doesn't understand what how campaign contributions work. He doesn't understand how tariffs work. He doesn't understand how trade imbalances work. Add this to the list of things about money that Donald Trump doesn't fucking have a clue about.
He has not a clue about a lot. I wouldn't say he's high IQ.
We can maybe let's skip over.
We can, yeah,
We'll
we can
save.
come back to.
Yeah, we'll save Steve Bannon for later. Was there? Um,
Can I just say that Kyle Rittenhouse is on a book tour with an emotional support animal?
yeah. Can we play
He
that?
is literally taking an emotional support animal on a tour while he promotes his book called Acquitted.
This is going to be unpopular, but although Kyle Rittenhouse certainly perpetrated a crime, certainly killed people that he didn't need to kill, he in a way also is like a victim of this Republican cycle, right? He was so hyped up, he was so indoctrinated to believe that like he was standing up for his country, that he was doing the right thing, that he was doing his patriot like his he was being a patriot. You can see when he's running, like he's terrified. There's no chance that those events haven't scarred him for the rest of his life. Now, what he did was awful. He should. I guess I get why he was acquitted based on the evidence. But Republicans have no shame, none whatsoever. They took a kid who went through the most traumatic experience he'll ever go through. A kid, still a kid. He will deal with this the rest of his life. He will see those images in his head the rest of his life. He'll deal with hatred the rest of his life. And they just say, hey, dude, we need you. We need you. We need to use you as a pawn to stand up for guns rights and for stand your ground laws and for anti-BLM rhetoric. We need you. You're our spokesperson. And so it's no surprise that now with the book tour, Kyle Rittenhouse can't go anywhere without an emotional support animal.
Are
He's
you joking?
No, he's completely broken. Are you like? How is a
No,
17?
he's absolute. Listen, I just want to say something. This is crazy. Like, this kid lived in another state, crossed state lines, like made many decisions in order to get to the point where he was in a very dumb position to be in.
Yes, 17, fully indoctrinated. Like my problem.
No, and
my
I
own-
get that.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm not disputing whether or not. I mean, indoctrination is indoctrination when you're 17. Like, yeah, he's like down the alt right pipeline, but he is using. he's using this as a financial vehicle. Like
Of
this,
course.
he has made millions of dollars for his legal fees and to enrich himself off what is he charged? What did he finally get charged with? Manslaughter? Was he convicted of?
No, he
Whatever
was acquitted.
Okay, acquitted. But like whatever it you want to call it, what he did.
Yeah. Well, he killed
I
people.
don't think people
Yeah.
just like murder, just like serial killers can't. There's laws passed so they can't profit in the media by writing a book, by selling the rights to their story off of their things. I don't think anyone should be profiting off unaliving people.
I agree with all of that. What I'm saying is that Kyle Rittenhouse is again. This isn't a person who would have existed. This isn't a crime that would have existed if you didn't have this right wing propaganda machine telling these and people the Andrew Tate bros and the Red Pill bros. What you said, the alt-right pipeline, the deep dives that he's doing on the internet, the algorithms that are directed at him, making a 17-year-old kid not only feel angry, but feel like it was his patriotic duty to stand up and go do something heinous. He didn't need to be there. He wasn't wanted there. There was nothing there that he was doing besides escalating tensions, and he killed people.
It's
That's
just
what he did.
ridiculous
I'm
to say
just saying that
this is a white child, and that's true. But if this was a African American child or another minority, this would be a different story. There would be no sympathy if this was an African American child
there
who
would be for
crossed
me.
state lines with a weapon and went and unalived YT people.
Well, there would be from me. You're right about like that's what I'm saying
No,
about.
I'm saying this is about a two-tier justice system. This is a lovely story about an indoctrinated YT kid who was misled. If this was an African American child, we would be hearing a completely different story.
100%. But why can't it be both? Why can't it be both?
It is more. I'm the
Yeah,
one that says
okay.
constantly multiple things can be true at once. But no, like I do. Am I gonna sit here and feel sorry for someone like you do and say like, oh, this is just a tragic story, when the same sympathy is never extended? We didn't extend the same sympathy for Trayvon Martin, a kid who was shot
Well,
by somebody
well,
else, like,
I
and
can't talk
nobody
about-
felt that sorry for him.
I
So,
can't talk
I
about
mean,
Trayvon because I was on the other.
I'm
I was-
Trayvon Martin. Yeah, I'm just saying.
Yeah, I
like,
was on the other side
Like
of
no
that.
one felt sorry for him, and we're talking about a kid who made decisions to go unalive people. You want me to be like, oh, this poor child? Like, no, no. Where's the
No, I don't want
sympathy
you to
for
say this
people
poor
who are
child.
being unalived? I'm just saying,
No, I don't want you to
it's
say this
unreal
poor child.
to me.
I want to say like that this is the system that now we've built. We're cranking out these like suburban terrorists. We're just
No,
the
for
alt-right
sure we
pipeline
are.
is just pumping out suburban terrorists, and like it just goes to show how easy it is. How easy it is for somebody, a 17-year-old kid, to go from seemingly like a regular kind of like asshole kid to somebody who's armed in the streets and shooting people. And then the Republicans, instead of saying like, oh my God, like there's people that have died, we radicalized a 17-year-old kid, this kid's life, like for whatever you want to say about Kyle Rittenhouse, what I'm saying is true. Republicans have ruined his life. The alt-right pipeline ruined his life. Kyle Rittenhouse isn't doing these things without that. And now the gross part is to watch him go on he's on OAN, he's on Newsmax, he's on with Benny Johnson, and they're talking about him like he's some sort of hero. He's not. He's a criminal. Well, I guess he's not a criminal technically. He's a person who did awful things that he didn't need to do. He went there with the intent knowing that like I may need to use this weapon. All of that is true. None of this is a defense of Kyle Rittenhouse, but right-wingers are still propping this kid up like he was some sort of hero. And that's the gross part to me. These grown adults are bringing on somebody whose life was forever ruined, and the lives of those around him obviously forever ruined. And they're bringing him up like, hey, what advice would you give to young men watching this? How about don't fucking listen to people like Benny Johnson? How about that for the advice? Because the same people telling him what advice would you give to young men are the ones that gave him the fucking advice that put him in the streets in the first place. That's the point I'm getting at. I have no sympathy for Kyle Rittenhouse. But I can look at it optically and be like, this dude now can't go anywhere without an emotional support animal. He can't. For all the things he did heinous, he's also a
Are you
victim.
kidding me? Like,
Is he?
systemic oppression has ruined African Americans' lives in this country. Epigenetic, like, trauma that's passed down generation to generation has ruined African Americans' lives in this country and indigenous people's lives in this country. So but we still throw them in jail with no sympathy, call them
Agreed.
criminals, and speak about them in heinous ways.
Yeah. So what am I supposed to do here, Felice? Like I'm just
No,
supposed to
I mean, I'm
like
just
I'm supposed to not this is
pointing out things.
okay, but this is the news story. The news story is Kyle Rittenhouse is on TV pushing his book. You rightly identified that it's gross. He's out there making money off of what he did, which agreed. I agree with all of that. But to me, the story is also a little bit bigger than that. It's that like they by propping up Kyle Rittenhouse as this hero, by bringing him on, by pushing him into the spotlight over and over and over again, they're basically saying like, "Hey, everything he did is okay. Everything he did
No,
is
he
fine."
Kyle Rittenhouse went and got an agent. Hold on, became a creator, a social media creator, and is now has a book and is on a book tour. This is his career.
Yeah, of course it is. Because, but do you really?
He has a media agent that is
Yeah, you think
booking
he
him
figured that
on
out though?
shows. No, no, I'm
We
just
all know how
saying,
that
this
happened.
is his chosen career. If he felt sorry, if
I don't think he feels
I
sorry.
used to think when I was 18 years old, I was in the parking lot of a grocery store and I almost hit somebody on a bike. And I sat there and cried and thought, if I had hit this person on a bike, I would never drive a car again. If he's not smart enough to think, hey, you know what? I was acquitted and I don't think that maybe I did anything wrong, but you know what? People lost their lives and I should show remorse for that. And I should go work hard and do something and not constantly throw it in the family's face and profit off of me unaliving people, whether on purpose or accidentally. But he has chose to do this. That is a choice.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with any of that. I don't know what the I'm
You're
legitimately
like they're propping him up and he's confused. No, this is now his career.
no. Well, first of all, anybody who does what he did was confused. It completely lost their sense of what's right and what's wrong. Again, he thought he was doing something great. He thought he was a patriot. He wasn't. He clearly wasn't. He went to a protest of people who were mostly peacefully protesting actual injustice, true injustice. And he went to protect buildings that the business owner said, like, we don't want your protection. Do not come here. Right? I agree with all of it. I'm not saying Kyle Rittenhouse is a victim in that like we need to justify what he did or say like it's not his fault that he did what he did. It is. But if we don't look at systemically how Kyle Rittenhouse comes to be this person, Kyle Rittenhouse didn't know to get an agent. Somebody guided him there. Kyle Rittenhouse didn't know to write a book. Somebody guided there. And you know who it was? It was shitbricks like Benny Johnson. These fucking alt-right white nationalists who are pushing this kid in the spotlight over and over and over to radicalize more young people. That's what we talk about all the time. That's what we talk about with this red pill. I know that you've talked to Nemo a million times about that alt-right pipeline. I get that's
He's a
what I'm
grifter.
saying. The alt-right
He's-
pipeline isn't hidden. It's right in front of our faces.
He's
They're
a grifter. He's
radicalizing
using the
children
alt-right
in-
pipeline as a financial vehicle. He's a grifter, just like Ted Cruz.
I agree.
That's his chosen career is MAGA grifter. Congratulations to him. If he was remorseful, that would not be what I'd be doing.
I agree. I feel like you think I'm defending Kyle Rittenhouse.
Oh, I'm not. Listen, I 100% hear what you're saying. And also, it is factual in the developmental levels of a child. Like, at 17, 18, 19, your frontal lobe is not fully developed. Like, your impulse control is not in place. Those are facts.
Okay. Yeah,
I recognize that. I'm talking about all the decisions he's made after.
All right. So, chat's saying it feels
Let's
like
move
I'm
on.
making an
Anyways.
excuse for him. Let me try that again. I am not making an excuse for Kyle Rittenhouse. What I'm saying is that, what I don't want to happen is another Kyle Rittenhouse. I don't want more Kyle Rittenhouses. And the only reason there is a Kyle Rittenhouse is because of people like Benny Johnson, because of OAN, because of people like Charlie Kirk, because of people like Tim Pool. That's why this person exists. So what I'm saying is, like, I understand where Kyle Rittenhouse came from. Kyle Rittenhouse's life should be forever ruined. He's going to profit off it, but he's clearly a broken person, and he will be. I held a person at gunpoint. I think about that every single night. I was justified in doing it. If I would have shot the person, I would have been justified in doing it. I think holding a gun in my hand aimed at another person, my only fucking thought was, please don't make me shoot you. Like, please do not make me shoot you. Every sound I hear at night reminds me of that moment. Every single time. I'm just saying Kyle Rittenhouse is a completely broken person, and they broke him first. Then he went out and he did what he did, and now it's not surprising to me that he has an emotional support animal. It's not surprising to me that he can't go anywhere without his dog. It's not surprising to me that he dedicated the book to his dog, because Kyle Rittenhouse doesn't actually have a support system anyways. He has all these people who are using him to show that, like, hey, if you're a 17-year-old kid, get out there with a weapon and go protect your country against what? Against people protesting for social justice? That's what I'm saying. Like, the Republicans do not care. They will break you. They will break your children. They will break apart your family. They do not fucking care. They want fascism. They want their way, and they'll use and abuse anybody along the way. I don't think Kyle Rittenhouse's life likely. I don't think he likely lives a full life. I am not going to say what I'm going to say, but, like, this is what happens when you wind up.
Either do the people that are no longer alive.
Agreed. And all I'm saying is that we can criticize Kyle Rittenhouse all we want. All of that criticism is fair. But if we want to make a change, the change isn't going to come from ridiculing Kyle Rittenhouse. It's going to come from understanding how we got a Kyle Rittenhouse, why we have so many Kyle Rittenhouses. It comes from that understanding, and it comes from attacking the people like Benny Johnson and Ben Shapiro and Steven Crowder and all those losers on the alt-right pipeline.
They're all grifters, but they're just going where the money is. Like, this is capitalism. Like I've said many a times, one of the most successful boons in advertising of all time was the alt-right pipeline for YouTube, because it's thousands upon thousands upon thousands, millions of watch hours that they are running advertising against and making billions. If you want to talk about what started this, there you have it.
Yeah, I agree. I just want more. I want more heat thrown at these people. I don't think they get enough heat. I think that for whatever reason, and I think some of it has to do with they've, like, built their own protection. Like, I was on Q-Top's live last night. Q-Top has said somebody sent me the clip of some fucked up things that Q-Top said, right? These people that become the leaders of the alt-right pipeline, and even on TikTok, they get insulated because they say so many awful things that nobody engages with them anymore. So there's no pushback. Their fans never see any pushback at all. They get on there, they do their monologue. The monologue is completely slighted. They use this type of information, they twist it, they make you angry, and you walk away thinking that person was brilliant because nobody pushed back. And then when you do see a Ben Shapiro clip, it's some college student with a mic who gets one question and no rebuttal. Right? That's what I'm saying. The pushback has to happen. The attacks on these media people need to happen. The engagement with these media people need to happen. The mistake that we made on the left, and I wasn't really part of the left, but I think the mistake that we often make is not engaging this shit head on. Is pretending like if we ignore it, it will go away. But we ignored white nationalists largely for like 40 years. We didn't do shit about it. We thought it was this fringe group, and now they're in every one of our police forces. They're in the FBI. They're in the Department of Justice. They might be on the Supreme Court. They're certainly in Congress. They're certainly working for the President of the United States, all because for a long time we were unwilling to go after people and call them exactly what they are, and they're white nationalists. They get to throw up, oh, we're racist. Fine, yeah, keep calling them racist then. Keep doing it. Benny
I just want to
Johnson
say
gets
though,
a
like, I
fucking
don't
pass.
I don't think he gets a pass. Like it's just like I said in the
Who goes
beginning of this.
after
If
him?
you're a white male, if things aren't offending you, then you're not questioning things. I
That's
have
true.
been calling these people white nationalists for you. Like I don't know what you're talking about. Like minority communities know who these people are. Like we're like and have known about white nationalists for decades. Like just because it's not platformed, it's not mainstream until it's affecting like the white population and they can see
Yeah.
like doesn't mean people haven't been aware. Like welcome to the
Yeah,
club.
this is the
Some
we're
of us
talking about
have
the
known.
same thing. I'm talking about the privilege of the media establishment, the like gold standard media, where they don't want this content. They're not going to show you Benny Johnson being a white nationalist. It's too controversial to show on CNN. It's too controversial to air exactly what he's saying. It's too controversial to bring on Benny Johnson. Like, give me Benny Johnson for 2 hours with Mehdi Hassan. Give me Benny Johnson debating somebody. Like I'm saying, legacy media has abandoned their role. Their role is to call this stuff. This is the most dangerous stuff in our country, and legacy media largely ignores it. Like you said, minority communities know who these people are. These are the people attacking them. But where's their representation in legacy media? Where's their representation in big media? It's nowhere. These guys go unchecked every fucking day. It's like Sam Cedar, Vosh, like it's some YouTubers. They're the only ones that ever call him out. Hassan, sometimes Destiny, but legacy media doesn't do shit
Yeah, well,
because
I mean,
we
that's
can't talk
capitalism.
about it.
That's what we wanted. These are for-profit companies. Advertisers will not advertise if the content being shown is too outrageous. Like this is what we wanted in a capitalist economy. Profit is king, not the actual facts of what's going on.
L capitalism. L fucking capitalism. Sorry. Want
No,
to go on to the
I'm
next
with
one?
you on that. With you on that. We should talk about Liz Cheney and what's going on.
Yes.
Liz Cheney's book is dropping bombs. She's been doing interviews. She was on Rachel Maddow last night, and Rachel Maddow is just
By the way, for
she's just
anybody,
objectively an intelligent
I want
person.
to throw this. I want to throw this out there. If you are on the left and you don't like what I'm saying, if you disagree with what I'm saying, you're welcome in the box too. You don't just have to be a right winger. If you disagree with what we're saying, you can jump in the box. It's fine. Okay, keep going.
Please hang in Discord. I know. I'll do more of that. I'm got a lot going on. Let me open it so I can. Anyways, back to Liz Cheney was on Rachel Maddow last night, and we learned a lot of things. Some of the juicy details about what's in Liz Cheney's book in some clips, and I want to play some here. The first one. Let's see, which one should we do? Like, gosh, I love the way Rachel Maddow rolls this stuff out. It just makes so much sense. Hold on.
New book. On page 124 of Liz Cheney's new book, that a senior Republican staffer on the Rules Committee wrote in the Republican staff memo on impeachment less than a week after the January 6th attack on Congress. This is the Republican staff memo. The person wrote that Trump had committed impeachable offenses, calling what Trump did, quote, a serious act political in nature that corrupted or subverted the political process and threatened the order of political society. That's the Republican staff memo on impeachment after January 6th.
So they all knew.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They all knew this is ridiculous. This is just a farce. Like the entire Congress is complicit in insurrection, is what we found out. Now, but the best is, Liz's hot tea she's spilling about our fearless speaker, MAGA Mike Johnson. He's a wreck.
Yeah, this one was
We learn
incredible.
on page 74 that the day before January 6th, Kevin McCarthy's general counsel, the top lawyer for the top Republican in the House, told Congressman Mike Johnson that the effort he was organizing to get House Republicans to sign on to Trump's effort to overthrow the election was an effort that was wildly unconstitutional in its basis. Quote, later that night, I heard from Kevin McCarthy's chief counsel, Michaela Carr. She told me she had made clear to Mike Johnson that his letter was wrong. She said that he knew it was. She said he pushed back very strongly. She said she pushed back very strongly when they discussed it that afternoon. And then Cheney quotes from an email. He knows he is wrong on the fundamental constitutional principle, and his argument that he has some sort of power to individually determine, absent due process of any sort, that a state didn't meet their constitutional obligation, and then that the remedy should be that, without any process whatsoever, the federal Congress gets to overturn the will of the people, is astonishing.
It is, isn't it? That is astonishing, is what we just heard.
I've seen him interviewed about this, and his defense is it's like the attorney defense. It's always like, oh, well, my job was to represent this case. My job was to be basically the defense attorney. So what he's doing in order to try and like say like, yeah, maybe I knew, but it's my job to present the best possible case, is what Congress has become in these impeachment hearings. It's become a prosecution and a defense, and it's Republicans versus Democrats, prosecution versus defense. And I think that like this perfectly illustrates that Republicans saw this not as an opportunity to do the right thing, not as a real issue, but as a battle between Democrats and Republicans, and them looking at the facts and just saying like, hey, yeah, we recognize those facts, but we're gonna try and state a case anyways. Like, we know it's wrong, but we're gonna do our best to convince the American people that that there isn't. Yeah, that's a better way to put it.
I mean, our right to democratically elect a president was denied us. Like, is there anything more unconstitutional than that?
This is what we're talking about. Like, this is what when you separate the two parties, when you show that when the Republicans believe it's literally like Republicans versus evil, it's good versus evil, you get to justify this stuff. When you set terms like that, it's why there's been so many religious atrocities. It's why our country has done so many awful things all around the world, because we're the good guys. We're establishing democracy, which really means capitalism. But we're establishing democracy around the world. We're giving people freedom. No, we're not. We're not doing any of that shit. It's just we say those things so that we can justify the other shitty things we do. And that's the point here. The Republicans can justify any and all. They can justify Donald Trump. They can justify George Santos. Why? Because we need the votes. We need the power. Because if we lose the power, that's really when we have a problem. And this is them admitting this over and over and over again, that power, that's all that matters. We just want power because we have to have the power or everything will fall apart.
Yeah. Listen to what she says about Jim Jordan.
On page 228, she says Congressman Jim Jordan, who was very nearly Speaker himself, she says he may need the assistance of a criminal lawyer for sorting out the conflicting claims he made during congressional testimony about his communications with former President Trump while the January 6th attack was underway. On page 18 of her book, Jim Jordan gets this from Liz Cheney. Quote, Jordan did make a memorable pitch to me to join the group. It went something like this. Would you consider joining the Freedom Caucus? We don't have any women, and we need one.
One.
Cheney says, tempting as this offer was, I took a pass.
Just one.
Like, hell no. How about hell no? Like, that but they have Bobo now. She's the poster child for the
Terrific.
Freedom Caucus.
I feel free to. The crazy thing about Jim Jordan saying that is that as he spoke those words, there was no irony for him. He was like, "Oh, she'll understand. She'll understand that optically we need a woman. She'll understand that I'm asking her because she's a woman. She'll get it." And guess who did get that? Lauren Boebert. She's like, "Oh yeah, you guys need a woman? I'm in. Just one." Just one, right? Okay, I'm
No,
in.
she maybe didn't even understand that. She just joined because she follows Matt Gaetz wherever he goes, just like Anna Paulina Lunatic. She's on the Freedom Caucus because Matt Gaetz told her to sit there.
She's the one from Texas, right?
No, she's from Florida.
Who's the Texas Hispanic Christian lady? What's her name? She's crazy too. I forget her name. All right. Well, so there's Liz Cheney spilling all the tea. This is this is the
There's
part.
one more I want to show. Can I play
Yeah.
one more? So Elise Stefanik, who, if you guys don't know, I am into all things Trump. I spend a lot of time on Truth Social, and I've never missed a Trump speech in 3 years. So I know a lot of things about him. He always compliments Elise Stefanik. Elise Stefanik is one of the best candidates for vice president. Like she's one of the finalists because he needs a moderate. He needs someone that hasn't offended anyone. Like of course not Bobo, excuse me, Margarine and Carrie Lake want to be the VP pick, but Trump doesn't need help pulling the MAGA base. He has the MAGA base. Like they don't. Every part of Margarine's base, Trump already owns. Elise Stefanik is seen as more moderate and can help him pull more moderate voters. She's in the GOP leadership in the Congress. So, and he writes all these posts about lovely, adoring posts about her on Truth Social. He always just slips them in there. So here's what Liz Cheney said about Trump's little darling, Elise Stefanik.
Page 153. Here's Liz Cheney's goodbye to Congresswoman Elise Stefanik. Quote, other members said they were upset that my impeachment vote had caused them trouble at home. They thought I should have provided them cover for their votes against impeachment. I had heard this complaint from an angry Elise Stefanik of New York. She told me that because of my vote to impeach, people were writing letters to the editor of her local newspapers, criticizing her and asking why she hadn't taken the same principled stand that I had. Cheney says, quote, that seemed less my problem than hers. Many of us who had known Elise Stefanik since before she abandoned all principle were curious about how she had lost her sense of right and wrong.
Hey, aren't we all? Aren't we all? Remember the old Elise Stefanik, AOC's protege? That one day she just had a lobotomy and changed personalities?
It's the Trump effect. Trump has done this for, again, we talk about Trump derangement syndrome. It really did happen. For all these Trump supporters who think they existed, you didn't exist. You didn't show up for Trump when he came down the golden escalator. You're full of shit. He was polling like under 5%. What happened to Trump is you guys got tired of losing, and you saw that Trump was winning, and he talked a big game, and so you just went along for the ride, because if you didn't go along for the ride, you were going to be left behind. And that's what happened to Elise Stefanik. It's what happened to Lindsey Graham. It's what happened to most of the Republicans that we thought had backbones. And what Donald Trump did is show us that there's very few Republicans with a backbone, and they're the most hated ones. It's my man Mitt Romney.
Well, think about it for Elise
backbone.
Stefanik. She would still be sitting in, she'd still be a Democrat. She'd be AOC's protege, and she would have advanced nowhere. If you're intelligent and you're willing to abandon all your principles, exactly what Liz Cheney said, a woman, they need women in the GOP. They need to be like, look, it's a woman who agrees with us. Here she is. See, we got one. She's reasonably well spoken. And so Elise Stefanik abandoned her principles, switched parties, and now she's in the GOP leadership the next year. Do you know what I mean? You can't write this stuff. I should abandon all my principles. I could be their brain
I'm being accused
trust.
of that today, by the way. Deep Throw, welcome.
Hey, hi.
What's up?
Felice. Thanks, Felice, for letting me up. I just wanted to say hi and wish you guys a great day. I love watching you guys. And I think you guys should get married. You make a great couple. And you both have the black background. I don't even know if you guys are in the same room right now. So
It's hard to
I
tell.
think,
It's hard
yeah,
to tell.
I know. So, yeah, I just want to wish you the
Other
best.
than that weird message, do you have anything? Are you a Republican? Just so I know for the future, like since you listened to us for like 2 days and you've changed your mind about everything. What's
I've
going
been
on?
listening for a lot of days. No, I'm a
A lot of
Republican.
days.
But I don't think anybody likes me, so I just wanted to I just wanted to pop up here. I seen nobody had any requests, so I just wanted to wish you guys the best, and you're making cute couples, so I don't know.
What?
Weird.
Well, in no way was that. It gets weirder every day with Deep Row. Thank you.
Alrighty, bye-bye.
See ya. Weird.
Okay. Well,
Dope. We're not in the same room. We're not married. We're not getting married. Anything
marriage
else
is
you
a
want to add to
cage.
that?
Based on that was just a contract of men who bought and sold women. It's called chattel slavery. You could look it up.
Look it up. Deep Throw. Let's go to, where was this one? That Arlington one isn't gonna. That needs a video. If you guys haven't seen that house exploding in Arlington, that was the craziest shit I've seen. Were there any
No, there's some crazy things about this. Like I don't
okay.
if there's a crazy house that exploded in Arlington. Let me just scroll down. I'm looking at the Washington Post story. So, Arlington County, if you don't know what's going on, Arlington County Police spokeswoman Ashley Savage said police received a call about 4:45 p.m. Monday about a flare gun being fired at a home. Okay, so the video posted online showed one or two orange flares of the sort used to summon help or signal an emergency, arching up into the air around dusk before settling to the ground. Police later said in a statement that the suspect fired the flare gun 30 or 40 times from his home into the neighborhood. Okay, so after that, police tried to execute a search warrant
That's
at
just a
the
regular
house.
Republican neighborhood. If this happened in Alabama,
Yes.
nobody would have even called the police. They'd be like, it's just
Yeah, they'd
normal.
just be like, "It's Tuesday."
Yeah.
So she said the person inside the house when they tried to do a search warrant declined to cooperate. They tried to reach the person via telephone and loudspeakers before trying to serve the warrants. Neighbors were evacuated as a precaution, okay? Then as police approached the house, suspect fired several rounds from what authorities described as a firearm inside the home. At about 8:25 p.m., the house exploded. Okay, and this is the crazy part. This is the part I wanted to point out from the article that I didn't know when I saw this on the news. The neighbor who described the explosion said police had spent a long time trying to get the occupant of the house to emerge. They kept saying, "Come out," the neighbor said. Listen to this. She said she heard a voice from inside the house asking to let me go. That account could not be confirmed by police. The neighbor spoke on condition of anonymity because of concerns about her privacy and her own safety.
It's weird. This one's going to be a conspiracy theory. This is going to be an alt-right conspiracy theory probably pretty soon. Please don't let this person have any connection to
Well,
any
it depends
Democrat.
on if the guy in the house is what color he is,
That's true. That's true. But this is what I don't know. Somebody's probably figured out what the conspiracy theories are now. No first responders were hurt. Just the person in the house. I think is that what it said.
That's all. Yeah, it doesn't say. They don't know a lot. I mean, obviously, there's a lot not known. This is a Washington Post article from this morning.
Huh.
So there's a lot to unfold with whatever was going on inside that house.
Well, this is whole Kogan's neighborhood. I don't think we should rule out that Hole was involved.
Is it really his neighborhood?
He posted in Discord the other day. He said it was. I don't know if it's neighborhood. Maybe his hometown. Maybe that's what he said. I don't know, but I just don't think we should rule out Hole in any of this.
That's crazy.
And then I want. Oh, did I close them? Shit, I closed them. Let's talk about what's happening in China.
Oh yeah. Okay.
That was super interesting stuff. So the first one you said, China's rising debt spurs Moody's to lower their credit outlook. I think Moody's lowered them to was it A1? Is that right?
Sorry, I just pulled up credit ratings agency. Moody's expressed concern at the potential cost to the national government of bailing out debt-burdened regional and local governments and state-owned businesses. State-owned businesses, mind you.
Yeah. So China,
Moody's, which previously viewed China's finances as stable, warned that the country's economy is settling into slower growth, while its enormous property sector has begun to shrink.
Yeah, so here's what we're seeing. I'm guessing this is why you sent this. Here's my takeaway. China subsidizes these little towns. China's doesn't take on foreign debt, but what China does is they loan money to banks, or they issue bonds to banks, and then they'll pay for like the what do they call it? Town states? What do they call them? Provinces? What are they called in China?
States.
States? Okay, states. Right?
I mean, I don't know. It's in a different. I'm not sure.
So
Provinces,
many of these states where we were seeing massive growth, they were selling off their own land, and that's where they were making money, leasing land or selling land for these big construction projects. And then the construction projects are slowing down. So you're hearing a lot about how China's government is in trouble. Although it turns out, and this is where I think you were going with this, the construction companies may not have been above water in what they were doing.
Well, I mean, Yeah, so like I've talked about this for a long time. Like China is our largest economic partner. Like you don't like people who are so worried about us like going to war together. Well, then our economies are crashing. So like you know what, we may as well not bother. Let's just if we stop doing economic business together, we could that's assured destruction. Like we can't decouple from China. Like their success is our success. But one of the now I've said this, China is on the verge of a recession and not a small recession, like probably one of the largest recessions ever seen. China has stopped reporting their unemployment statistics. Period.
And they
And
had just gone through unprecedented economic growth. Like their GDP. I was listening to that Richard Wolff debate. He was debating this with. I wish I could remember who that was. And they were both essentially saying, yeah, like China's economic growth is outpacing the United States, and these numbers were up through October, I think. So this change happened like the numbers, how it's reported, looks like it happened overnight. You're saying,
November, yeah, November's the first month that the US started outpacing China, and that has a lot to do with China's own economy. Like in regards to the property, the real estate, the racket has been for a long time. And this has been known. I mean, I think the first article I read about it might be 10 years ago. Like, just to give you an idea of how long this real estate bubble has been developing in China. It's 2008 in China, people. Like, that's what's about to happen. The real estate industry is going bust because, like, exactly what you described, Jay. Like, they are leasing land, like small states or provinces or whatever they are, or I mean, are selling off their land to these huge real estate companies like Evergrande, and then they are building ghost towns, right? To inflate the gross domestic product of China.
so
A
there's
lot of
no.
these huge cities they
So
built
they
have
knew that these were
never
going to
been
be
inhabited.
unfilled. You knew
Well,
they knew.
I don't
Okay.
whether they knew or not. Like I'm saying, this has been going on for a decade. They have uninhabited ghost towns all over China. They just kept building to inflate the gross domestic product. This is essentially a racket that has been going on. Like, but nobody was moving into a large amount of these homes.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, this has been going on and going on. And just think about 2008. I don't know I know in Arizona, I noticed it. They were just expanding into far like desert land, building subdivisions that were ghost towns.
Yeah, but
No one ever bought the homes, but they kept building.
there's a golf course in Gilbert called Kokopelli Golf Course that a Chinese investor came in. They bought it and they said they closed it for like 6 months. They said we're doing renovations. It was $3 million in renovations. They were gonna rebuild the driving range, make it lighted. It was already lighted. It was already, like they already had a lighted driving range, but it was going to be this massive overhaul. And 6 months later, they were like, "We finally finished our project. Come check it out." I went out there. Nothing happened. They killed the grass and then grew it back. They didn't change any of the lights. They didn't change any of the structure. They did nothing. They put down some cheap mats and they claimed that it was $3 million. They're doing that all over
Some
the
cheap
place.
mats.
Yeah, it's bizarre how those investments go. But you're
So
saying
when
that's
you
just to inflate the value, but then not do anything about
China's
it.
gross domestic product has for years and years been inflated by their real estate growth. Yeah. And it was all false, and a lot of people have known about it. But and then so I just want to explain, like when you hear about China and the fears that the far right has in the US of like China's taking our land. What's happening is that anybody who has money and is in favor with President Xi and is allowed to move their money around or has ways to get it out of the country, they're investing in property in Japan, oh, all over Japan and Europe, wherever they can, because they can't invest their money because China is on the verge of a giant recession and they don't know what the banks will do. Will they freeze their money? Xi Jinping has all the control. So they are trying to move their money out of China to not lose it. That's what's essentially happening.
And to me, this is what gets tricky when you have essentially like, you have strong social policies where the state is offering to fund these businesses, and in a lot of ways they like through bank loans, and then funding the cities, who the cities then sell the property or they finance property that they're selling to people. China is investing in its own people, but then at the same time they're allowing capitalists and corporations to come in and undercut everybody else. They come in with different rules, buying up, like you said, all the land so that they own all the houses. The same shit we're seeing here in America. And now that's where you're seeing the split. You're seeing the split between China saying, okay, well, all of the money, it appears that all of the money that we spent as a state to develop these communities has just gone into the pockets of like a few people.
And
It
they
sounds
can no longer
vaguely
find it.
familiar to
It's
something that's happened in
all
this country.
missing.
Sounds familiar. I know that
It's all missing.
2 billion,
80
2 billion that construction company could not account for, right? 2 billion.
Yeah, so Evergrande is a huge construction, like commercial real estate firm that's building these ghost cities, a Chinese company. And China Evergrande Group, a real estate giant that had defaulted a year earlier under $300 billion of debt. So this is in January. They sent 100 financial sleuths, so forensic auditors, to the company. Police had to stand on guard while protesters stood outside the building. They were issued permits to get in, and after 6 months of work, the auditors reported that Evergrande had lost 81 billion over the previous 2 years. But they still had questions, like financial records are just missing. If you know anything about an external forensic audit and being a publicly traded company, like there should be not one piece of paper missing. Like
Or
this
there shouldn't be
is
paper, probably. Shouldn't be very much
well,
paper at all
but
at
I
this
mean,
point. Yeah.
like they print it out in binders. I've been a part of an external audit. Of a corporate real estate company. It's a long story.
I understand, but I'm
But
saying, yeah.
questioning accounting and poor corporate oversight leading to problems like the disappearance of 2 billion had already sent the company careening toward disaster. So yeah, and then this is the thing. The breadth of Evergrande's stumbles was mind-numbing. The company promised hundreds of thousands of home buyers apartments that it never built. It took in billions of dollars from families and employees, some of which
good.
has vanished. It took labor from construction workers, painters, and real estate agents without compensation. Sound familiar? Unpaid bills that have snowballed into 140 billion. $140 billion.
And
These people owed contractors, families like that were reinvesting in this company.
And let's talk about the Evergrande, like all good capitalists, when they lose $2 billion, when they overinvest, when they are essentially, it appears, running some sort of semi Ponzi scheme, right, where they're taking in new investor money to pay their bills. It's basically a Ponzi scheme. Their response is, oh, it was the government's fault because Beijing said we needed to cool the market by restricting access to loans specifically to property developers. If your company is saying that it's the government's fault because we can't bring in any more loans, then that means that you're operating as a Ponzi scheme. If you
You're a Ponzi scheme.
Yeah, if you needed the government to give you loans in order to pay your bills, you're running a fucking Ponzi scheme. This is what happened to our banks. This is what happened to the auto
timeshare
companies.
industry.
Yeah, timeshare industry. Yeah, exactly. This is how this works. And you'll have a bunch of capitalist bootlickers just show up and be like, oh, yeah, well, it's probably the government's fault. They shouldn't have tried to cool the market by restricting the access to the loans. We should have just let that Ponzi scheme keep going. That's how this works every time. If passing a law that says the government doesn't give you money or the government doesn't give you access to things causes your business to go under, that business should not exist. It should never have existed.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially not if you're publicly traded and you should be being audited internally and externally every quarter. There's no excuse for what happened. Their stock is trading for pennies on the dollar now. Like if anyone's curious what has happened to this.
Maybe they were
Yeah.
just using like an old phone to run everything and it failed. Maybe
Yeah,
it was
like an old Nokia
Samsung.
phone.
Yeah.
They're playing like Snake on it most of the time.
All right, that's China. I don't have. Did we go through all of our stories?
I have G and H we didn't go over. Yeah, no, I just want to
Okay.
touch on a New York Times article. So like, which it's about that time, right? I think kind of a bummer for some of us, on the left who enjoy seeing it. But Republicans are pressuring Chris Christie to drop out of the presidential race and endorse Nikki Haley. Like now that she has the Coke pack behind her, they want Chris Christie to drop out and endorse Nikki Haley so they can see how much support they can consolidate. DeSantis needs to drop out too. If the Republican Party, the establishment, let's say that it's called now, if the writers want to make a stand against Trump, then Ron needs to drop out. They all need to back Nikki Haley immediately and coalesce.
Except for Vivek. So if we pull
Well, Vivek
DeSantis,
won't drop out, and we're going to be trapped with him for the rest.
even if we drop DeSantis, Haley, and coalesce that, we're talking about 25% of the vote. That's
But I mean, it's more it's a marketing PR thing. Like there needs to be one candidate. It needs to look uniform. It needs to look like a challenger.
I understand that. I'm saying, do you think there is a path forward for? I don't think there's a path forward for DeSantis.
No, like I
but for
personally
Haley,
think Donald Trump's he's the nominee. Like, but and I don't think we should count on anything else. Like even if he's a convicted felon, he's the nominee. And I have never thought anything different. Like I am like very much my world philosophy is expect the worst and you'll never be disappointed. Like I was like shocked hearing people like last week saying, "Oh, Trump's gonna be the nominee." Like what the else has everyone been thinking? That's what I thought this whole time.
yeah, but I do think they are trying something different though. The reason Trump became the nominee in the first place in 2016 is because people refused to drop out. And he was able to, every time somebody dropped out, it was because Trump had hammered them. And he was usually able to pick up like a good amount of their followers. But it's wild. His lowest point for his support within the GOP, I think, was around 41%. That was in February. And it's just been not a steady incline. It's had ebbs and flows, but we're at 59% now. And I don't know, as a Republican strategist, as somebody who's working for Nikki Haley, what do you do? How do you get some of that support? You can't hit Trump with negative. Like, what are the Kochs going to do? Hit him with negative ads? It's not going to hurt him. I don't even, outside of Donald Trump like failing spectacularly in court, I don't see how this support goes anywhere. There's nothing you can say about Donald Trump that his supporters will believe anyways. So any attack on Donald Trump is just going to be viewed as, oh, they're just jealous. They're a rhino. They're a never Trumper.
I mean, I think legitimately, like, they'll let him be president from prison if it's allowed. Like, if the Supreme Court, depending on what the Supreme Court does, like, if he's kept off the ballot, like, it would depend on something like that. But, like, I don't depend on any of that. Like, I don't count on a conservative leaning Supreme Court to keep the Republican nominee off the ballot. I think it's delusional to think that that may happen, even though the legal precedent is correct and like constitutional scholars on both the right and the left say that he should be kept off the ballot. I don't think that the Supreme Court shows every day that that's not the agenda. Like they have they're propping up the conservative agenda regardless of if the law agrees with it or not.
Let's just imagine a scenario where Donald Trump is
It depends
president.
on what Leonard Leo wants.
That's right.
It depends on what the kingmaker wants. They don't call him the kingmaker for nothing.
In a way, Donald Trump has exposed like the swamp, and he has destroyed the swamp on the right. In that, like all the people who had all the power, actually, like he does have the power now. He has, as far as being the nominee goes. He does work hand in hand with them, and he pushes their nominations through. But I wanted to say real quick, imagine a scenario where Donald Trump is in prison in Georgia, and he's running the country from the prison in Georgia. Are we not going to have Donald Trump advocating that the military come break him out of jail? Right? Is he not going to do that? There's no way Donald Trump would not try and command the military to come take over the jail and pull him out. And his followers would be like,
Georgia prisons are no joke.
Yeah, well, either is the U.S. military. I don't think they would listen, but like, yeah, what are they gonna do? If Donald Trump gets nominated, how do you put him in jail? I don't think you can. This is such a bizarre exposure of our whole system. It shows massive holes in the, rightfully so, like our founding fathers didn't foresee everything. I don't know how they could have foreseen this. Nobody put in laws for this. We're now in this weird scenario. Like, if you are a convicted felon, you can't vote, but if you are a convicted felon, you can be on the ballot. In what world does that make any goddamn sense? Doesn't make any sense to me. Like, how did we miss that? How did we miss, if you're a convicted felon, you can't run for office? Is it because we wouldn't be able to have, like, they were afraid nobody would run for office? Is that what they're afraid of?
I
How
mean,
do we
a
miss
lot
that?
our government was running on a social contract. Like that's what this has exposed, when someone tries to overthrow the government, now we see all the holes. Like this was just a gentleman's agreement essentially to like act right and not try to do a coup. And yeah, there's many loopholes that are now terrifying that we have been exposed that need to be closed.
When Marx talks about the fall of capitalism, and you love reminding us we're in late stages of capitalism, at this point, now I know what Marx's theory says, but do you see a way of do you think it's possible this exposes enough people to the flaws and to the fear of fascism that we actually like reverse course and keep capitalism, but we move into a far more structured and regulated version of capitalism, or do you think that this is just it's Fucksville, it's Marksville?
Okay, I need to make something super clear. First of all, Marxism is just a criticism of capitalism. That's all
Right.
it is. It's not a solution to it. It's just saying, hey, I'm going to poke many holes in how this is beneficial for no one, right? That's what Marx was doing.
Right.
Socialism now, heavily regulated capitalism is socialism. That's what democratic socialism in the Scandinavian model of socialism is. It's heavily regulated capitalism. Like, I don't think like the answer is a hybrid of all of it, in my opinion. Like there are good things about capitalism. I don't think it's completely like throw the baby out with the bathwater. I think the solution is a hybrid, and that's what Marx was saying with not coming up with a solution. Like a solution needs to come with the current times, whenever that is, what's going on, like what pieces have been working, have not been working. Like we need to think critical and probably make a new hybrid economic system. Like the Scandinavian model is heavily regulated capitalism. That is the Scandinavian socialism model, heavily regulated capitalism. But that did not cure the problem that we're all still slaves, right? We're all still at jobs, 9 to 5, working for a capitalist overlord, right? We're giving our surplus productions to them. They're living off and profiting off of it while we get none of it. So, or we just get enough to live on, right? We're
Yeah.
slaves. So the solution to that then, like newer Marxist economists like Richard Wolff, they're talking about democracy in the workplace, like co-ops, creating co-ops, giving people a vote, a voice, and profit sharing, letting everyone share in the profits. That's how we create equity. But I think the answer is it's a hybrid of all of it. It's not about, oh, there are things about capitalism that need to be regulated, right? There's equity for all of us that needs to be created. It doesn't have to go away. It just might look different.
And what do you think? What do you think the chances are that we move in that direction?
Well, I mean, like this is the thing with late stage capitalism is here. Like no economist thinks you can turn this ship around. Like if things stay the same,
No, well, hold on. If we
America will fall,
hold on, if we cut
will
taxes
crash.
and
And
deregulate,
so, but like, so it sounds like, okay, our economy is going to crash, not in the sine wave of capitalism, like every 6 to 8 years, capitalism, they say corrects, but basically the economy crashes. I'm talking about a larger economy crash that will happen, but from that will rise a hybrid system. Like that will be the change. Like of course isn't either way the change is coming. Like we could lobby, we could change reform now, we can regulate our capitalism like Europe. Countries who are hundreds of years older and have much more experience have seen, oh, we need to regulate capitalism. That's why they're doing it. It's born out of necessity, right? And so we could get on the page with older countries, more developed countries who are higher up on the Human Development Index and doing better, and we could get on board with them, or we can just crash and out of the ashes will rise a new phoenix, which will be a hybrid of heavily regulated capitalism. Like it's up to us how
isn't there
far
the
we want to
third?
sink.
Isn't there the third option of just like an oligarchy taking full control? I think like I
Well,
think
an
that's
oligarchy,
almost
I mean, Harvard Business School, I mean, we are an oligarchy now. We're an oligarchy of billionaires. That's
yeah, but it would
how
be
our country is now characterized as an
right. But if you
oligarchy,
have
just
if
like Russia's.
if you have a fascist takeover, which is essentially what happened in Russia, and then you hand that over to oligarchs, like I'm almost that's what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid that there's enough people in this country that are so afraid of the word socialism that they will they won't know that they're agreeing to fascism. They won't understand that most don't. Most Republicans have no idea that they are fascists or that they support fascists, and then when push comes to shove, if it came down to Joe Biden and Donald Trump debating fascism versus socialism, they would choose fascism and give that power over to the oligarchs. That's my biggest question mark,
Oh,
and that question mark
100%.
for me is growing because I see the polls saying that people are liking Biden less and less and Trump more and more. And if you're liking Trump more and more, I can only assume it's because of what he's saying in the moment. I can only assume it's because of the what he's putting out in the moment. And what he's putting out in the moment is an outline of fascism, an outline of total reform and giving him the power, this one man that can save anything. He's not sending out a different message. He's not advocating for some sort of conservative fix to our economy. He's only advocating fascism, and he's getting more and more popular. That's the part that concerns me, and to what extent and what areas he's getting more and more popular. I guess we'll see on election night. I don't know if polls are going to tell us that, but if the polls are correct, that's a real fucking problem. That means there's a lot of people who are far more okay with fascism than socialism, which is crazy.
It's not, it's a misunderstanding. Like you said, they don't know they're voting for it, so they're not okay with it. But like what happens in late stage capitalism is scarcity in the economy. Nobody can get the resources they need. People are terrified. They look for a strong leader, right? That's why it's called a strong man. An authoritarian leader is literally called a strong man, because you're like looking around, I'm panicking, I don't have what I need, resources are getting scarcer and scarcer. I need someone to save me. Oh, there's Donald Trump. That's literally, I mean, that's what's happening. In late stage capitalism, people are looking for someone to save them. No one's going to save us except for financial reform. Like,
Maybe
I
you.
mean, that's the truth. But
Maybe you could
like, I
save
mean,
us.
like I'm saying there, I don't think it's a choice of fascism over capitalism. Like you said, I don't think people understand what the choice is. Like they just want to be saved from this. But like you're saying, absolutely, we've already seen this before in other countries. It's what happened in Russia. It's how they came to be an oligarchy. Like as resources get scarcer, you look for a strongman, you put in Putin, then you're in an oligarchy situation. And what will you do to maintain that oligarchy, right? What will an oligarchy do to stay in power? They become a complete authoritarian government. They control the media, like Trump's saying he's going to do. There's no free press in Russia. That's every day Donald Trump says, I'm going to get rid of the free press. I'm going to make it illegal for them to bring lawsuits. Like anything that he can do to shut people up. This, for the oligarchy to stay in power, eventually it has to move towards authoritarianism, because people
Right.
have nothing and they're starving.
And I'm yeah, that's what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid of looking even we're looking at the economic indicators. I saw a report saying that we're headed to below 2% inflation. That we're seeing a big cost of goods decrease. That we could by January see inflation at 2%. We see what the economic indicators are as far as unemployment. We see stock market. We see that buying power is at least it's not coming back down, but it's leveling off. Literally, the things that Joe Biden and this administration have done to curb the problems that we're having, and at least either slow the problems or halt the problems altogether, is actually remarkable. We've done better than every other country in the world coming out of a recession. We're doing better than any country in what scenario are you the best country in the world? In what scenario do you win the award for handling recovering from COVID the best out of any country and lose your election or be down in the polls? In our country where nobody knows what the fuck happens, where nobody was ever taught the difference between, like, what is fascism. How many people, if you went out on the street today and you asked 100 people to explain what fascism is, how many do you think could tell you? How many could tell you what socialism? If we had anybody come up here and say like, oh, when we say what is socialism, they know it? No, never. They never know that. It's a fault of our education system. It's a fault of the populace as a whole to be educated. And I don't trust the American people to make the right decision, which is
But
crazy
think
because
of
we also need the American people to fucking make the right decision. Otherwise, we just sound like the fascists, like, oh, we got to make the decision for them. But they're making such poor decisions.
Well, here's the interesting thing. Marxism, and as Richard Wolff, not to quote my idol Richard Wolff, but like Marxism spread farther and faster than Christianity, right? And imagine like why is Marxism such a dirty word in the US that no one understands the actual definition? Imagine that Marxism is just criticisms of capitalism. How dangerous do billionaires, how threatening is it to capitalists, to billionaires, to the donor class that they just can't let you know that all Marxism is a guy, a philosopher, an economist saying, "Hey, let me poke some holes in capitalism. This is a mess. Like this is ridiculous. We're still in slavery. We tried to get away from feudalism. We got rid of kings, but they're still here." Like this guy was just pointing that out. And
I
you
need you
can't
to
mention Marxism in this country or you're crucified.
I need you to know that up until maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I legitimately thought Karl Marx was some sort of like fascist leader of a country. I didn't know which country, but I thought
He's
that's
German.
because of the way he was spoken about. I was like, oh, this was some guy from history that was a totalitarian, like authoritarian figure. Nope. No, he's just a guy.
A
He's just a German guy.
Just
He's
a
just a
philosopher.
guy.
Just a philosophy
Yeah,
major
he just had
who
ideas.
worked with
I had
labor
no idea.
unions. Like
I had no idea. By the way, for those, thank you for the likes. Let's see if we can get those to 150 here soon. But we've got an hour and 45 minutes left to go. If you are opposition to what we have to say, if you're a Republican and you're in here, you want to have a discussion about why your party is so goddamn dumb, we'd be. I mean, tell us why we should vote for Trump. That's what the question. Sorry, that was yesterday's
yes, we want
question.
to talk to someone who would like to talk to us.
Or if you want to, you can come up and if you want to take umbrage with something I've said today. I'm by far the least popular person on this show every day, but today the margin grew, I believe.
The Discord's disgruntled
Anarchy in the Discord. That's all right.
every day.
I saw. Yeah, Bad View started a war in Discord. That's on you.
What happened?
Police.
What is going on? I just saw that people are.
Well, he started defending Rittenhouse. He took the heat off me, which was nice. He really turned everybody's anger. Maybe he took one for the team. Maybe he was just being a good friend to me. I don't know. Earth is flat. Let's talk about that. You can talk. Listen, I don't care what you talk about. If you have right-wing political ideologies, come on up and you can talk to us. Don't say that, C. Jonesy. I'm never going to live this down. I'm going to be like the Kyle Rittenhouse defender the rest of my life. That's who I'm going to be.
You know what article we should pull up and go over that we never went over? What is going on, like with the Christian Ziegler, the threesome with the moms of the?
We did not get to that. We did not get to that.
I know, and I'm like, I feel like we have done everyone this. Well, this is actually a horrible story. Like,
What? I don't know the whole story. Do you want to tell it to me?
yeah.
Sorry, you looking
Okay.
at Discord.
Was it her husband? Like, okay. So so he's a state party chairman, right? Let's see.
Right.
Details a sexual assault, an essay allegation against the chairman of the Florida Republican Party. Okay, he's the chairman of the Florida Republican Party, and it's his wife that is the Moms of Liberty founder.
Yes.
They were in a menage a trois, if you will, with a woman. And they were, irony, right? Okay, these are Christian values that we are not, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
what?
Well, it's a
Anyways.
gray area. They don't really discuss threesomes in the Bible, so there's your loophole.
Yeah,
There's your gray
exactly.
area.
I mean,
Yeah.
exactly. So they were having a menage a trois with a woman. What is said in an article is like this guy, the chairman of the Republican Party of Florida, like texted this woman and was like, "Oh, like we're gonna come over and have a sexual encounter or whatever." And then
That's probably
she was
what
like
they
hesitant
said.
and like weirded out and didn't want to. And then for some reason, because obviously their relationship was getting weird, and then he was like, "Oh, it's just me. Like my wife's not with me." His name I think is Bridget. He's like, "Oh, she's not with me." And then the lady was immediately like, "No, I don't want you to come over here." And then he came over, and was like, kind of like, no, whatever. He came over, like, she let him in, and he assaulted her. It's raped her, allegedly.
All right. There we go. How many more of these do you think Republicans need?
They
How
don't.
many
I mean,
more?
it's so funny. Like if you don't get the projection of saying like that, this is, oh, there's, talking about sexual assaulters on the left. Like they're here. It's just it's every day. There's another story every
And
day.
I don't mean to discredit the education of the Zieglers, because they were probably educated in Florida, and we know how Florida feels about sex ed. But in a menage a trois, there would be likely some non-heterosexual activity that would take place in that,
Which is an abomination,
and I
as
know
we learned this
specific,
week.
yeah, I know Bridget Ziegler has stood staunchly against the LGBTQ community.
Oh,
She doesn't.
staunchly.
That's wrong. That God has not ordained that. That is wrong.
She calls them groomers and is trying to throw parents, just parents trying to parent children, calling them groomers and trying to say that, they're talking to their kids about inappropriate things. Like what the Moms of Liberty is up to, and then this is what she's up to. I mean, you can't write the hypocrisy of these people. Like, listen, so it says in an affidavit, a written declaration made under oath, a law enforcement officer said that the woman and Mr. Ziegler had known each other for 20 years, that she had told the police she had agreed to a sexual encounter on October 2nd with Mr. Ziegler and his wife, Bridget Ziegler, an elected member of the Sarasota County School Board and founder of right wing national group Moms for Liberty. She is no longer one of the organization's officers. She resigned. That she and her husband had been involved in one sexual encounter with a woman over a year ago, the affidavit stated. When the woman learned that Mrs. Ziegler would not be present for the October encounter, the woman said she had changed her mind and canceled, and then he SA'd her. Yeah, so I
Well,
mean,
yeah, yeah. Ziegler's not exactly a great looking guy. I doubt she was in it for him. But like the text message, like my wife's not gonna. No, don't come over. I'm gonna come over anyways. He knew he was gonna try and convince her. He knew what he was doing, and this is just like conservatism replay. This happens all the fucking time. You guys don't care. You don't care about children. You don't care about women. You literally don't care about anything but power. And that's why, like in the comments, you're seeing people like, oh, now we're hating on Christians. Yeah, I am. I'll say it. I am a little bit. I hated a little bit on Christianity last night, and I'll do it again today. I'm not a fan of people who take all their morals from a book and then rip other people who don't want to live by those same morals, and then they themselves don't live up to those morals, because the Bible is an impossible standard to live up to. If you just want to buy clothes, because most of your clothes are going to be some sort of mix between two fabrics, and that's going to cause a real problem for you. So when you and this is the scenario that it creates all throughout Christianity. If you have an impossible standard to live up to, if you know that every day you will sin, that every day you have to repent, that you literally can't do anything right, and that only through Jesus you'll be saved, you will go through your life and you'll do one of two things. You'll be devout and you'll never make mistakes, or you're going to learn to justify the rules that you break. And once you start justifying the rules that you break, it gets into a gray area where the rules that you're breaking might be hurting other people, but you don't look at it that way. You look at it as something between you and God, and you're just simply sinning. This is you sinning. You can repent for it later. But the other outcomes, the other side, the other parties that are involved in this, you don't really think about them, because everything becomes so centered on what you do for God. If your life revolves around what you do for God, then when you sin, it's only between you and God. So what's the difference between lying and essaying somebody? Sometimes that line for some people becomes a lot easier to cross, because, again, they are already hiding what they're doing wrong. They've already learned that behavior. They've already built a fake persona based on who they want people to think they are and how they're living their life. So it becomes easier and easier to justify that type of behavior. I can tell you, I was a far worse person as a Christian than I am not being a Christian, because I don't answer to God anymore. I answer to like the person I see in the mirror every day. That's a much tougher critic, mostly because it's real.
I agree. I mean, being able, yeah, but you could take personal responsibility. I mean, I think it's terrifying when you think about Christianity or any religion. Like, if the only thing keeping you from being a heinous individual is the fear of going to hell, there's a problem. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's a deep problem if that's like the thin line between you and being the most awful person on the world
Well,
in the
and
world is just fear.
well, and there's also this, like, who's to say who goes to heaven and hell? One person, right? It's between you and God. So again, like, what is this? What are the sins? What are the awful things you can do that you can't be forgiven for? If you truly believe that this life is just a test and that you can be forgiven for the things that you do wrong, where how are you being disincentivized to do bad things? Did I do that right? Yeah. Like, there's an incentive there. If I did this all the time, and mine weren't bad, it was like breaking the law of chastity or the word of wisdom, which is like our like sexual purity or like what we could eat or drink, right? When I broke those, like, I knew I could be forgiven. So was it really a big deal? In my mind, I was just like, well, as long as I don't do it all the time, as long as I repent after I do it, it's fine. And that type of justification leads you into some weird places. It led me into places where I worked with people, did business with people that were some of the scummiest people I ever did business with. They were also the leaders of the church. They were also the people on Sunday advocating for these things, but they learned to compartmentalize their life. They had their beliefs on Sunday, and then they had the real world. And that's where Christians now are stuck, because you have all these Christian beliefs. None of them really line up with what the Republican Party is doing, or saying, for that matter. And so you have to justify it and say, well, this is the real world. Like, my personal beliefs are my personal. These are my real world beliefs. Like, yeah, we do have to protect our kids if they have a trans friend. If their trans friend tells them that they're trans, they may be trans, so we're going to go ahead and legislate that person's identity out of school. Nowhere in the Bible would you see Christ advocating for that. You wouldn't see Jesus advocating that somebody's identity be completely removed because they didn't believe in Jesus. Now, Old Testament was a little different. He might turn you
Well,
into
that's the problem,
salt.
isn't it, with Christianity? They've kind of forgot about the New Testament. You know, like the Christ love teachings have been. We're not
Yeah,
experiencing a lot of Christ love in the Christo fascists. Like,
a lot
not a
of.
lot of forgiveness. Not a lot of any of the New Testament are we finding.
But again, and this is what we talked. I don't remember who the guest was yesterday, but we talked to the guest about this yesterday. That well, never mind. We got a guest here. That'll take a while. Welcome.
Hello.
Hello.
How's it going?
Hi.
Good.
Yeah, I don't like Trump. He's not my favorite, but I do like him over Biden, and that's why I vote for him.
Why do you like him over Biden?
Well, I think he has some common sense things that most Democrats don't.
Like what?
For example, he's able to define like what a woman is. I don't think there's any way to define the word
Why is
woman.
that important to you?
Yeah, it's a politically relevant term. We use gendered spaces such as prisons, sports, and
Yeah. Why is
also.
that important to you,
Well,
though?
I'm telling you why it's written into federal law.
Why is
Um,
that important to you?
I'm telling what. Wait,
No,
I'm telling you
you're
why.
just saying things that exist. I'm just wondering why it's important to you.
Why is it important? I think it's
Yeah.
important because it protect.
Like,
If
if I
you,
identified as a
I'm trying to
woman,
tell you why.
if I identified as a woman, how would that hurt you?
Yeah, it's well. First of all, I care about the truth. That's for first.
No, but how would it
Second,
hurt you?
well, I'm telling you, I care about the truth. I don't think we should
You
be
don't
saying
care
something.
about the truth if you vote Republican.
Well, I'm
So,
telling you why. If you
like, is that
understand.
don't? No, I'm just saying, follow your own line of logic
Can you
because
just
it's
use your
already
regular
collapsed on
voice, by the
itself.
way?
It
Because your
just,
accent is
yeah, and
fading.
the weird voice is scary, and
That's
it's
kind of
your line
racist,
of
isn't
logic has already collapsed,
No,
so you could start over.
it's
it?
not. It's
That's
not racist.
geographic,
It's you.
isn't it?
We've talked to you. We've talked to you
It's
before.
a bit discriminatory
This
based on
isn't
my
your. I
accent.
know. I know. I know. But we've talked to you before, and you use different voices. Again, I'm just going to ask: if I identify
Yeah.
as a woman, how does that affect you?
So that would remove protections we have on gendered spaces.
How would that protect? How would that
Wait,
hurt
wait. It doesn't
you?
have
I
to hurt
said.
me.
No, I'm
I
asking.
don't
How would
care
it
about it.
affect? Okay,
It
how would it
doesn't have to
affect
hurt
you?
me. It doesn't
How
have
would
to
it
hurt me. It
affect
hurts
you?
other people.
Okay, so it would not affect you. Okay, who would it affect?
It does affect me in certain ways, but
Well,
who
then
would
tell
it
me. I
affect
just
it?
asked you,
Yeah,
and you said it doesn't have
you're
to. So
Yeah,
not
tell
we
letting
me.
me
just
finish.
asked you
You're
and
not
you
letting
said
me,
no.
yeah, you're not
How
letting
does it
me finish
affect
a
you,
simple
Armin?
sentence. For
How long
example,
does it affect? How does it affect you?
yeah, for example, it could affect somebody like, let's say, my friend who plays
I'm
sports,
asking
and that
about
is,
you. God damn,
you're
dude.
not even letting me
God,
finish.
I said
Not even
you.
letting me finish.
I
Yeah, that
said
would have,
you.
Listen, I
if
was a
my friend
division
was hurt,
athlete,
that hurt
division
me.
one athlete. Please don't talk about women's sports. You're not a defender of
Wait,
women's sports.
wait,
You
wait. Can we talk about
never
law?
cared about
Wait,
women's sports
hold on.
before. We don't need you
I don't
to
need to be a
protect us,
woman to
so
be
we
able
can
to
move
talk
on
about
from that.
topics.
No,
That's the
Speak
Armand, we
crazy
about
don't.
thing.
you.
No,
I don't
we're
Speak
have to be a
about
asking
lawyer
you.
you.
to talk about law, right? Do
We're
I have to be a
asking you.
lawyer?
Wait, hey, be quiet. Okay. I
You
asked
keep
you a
interrupting.
question. Shush. I know because you won't answer the question. I
I was
said,
about to.
I shush. I said, how does it affect you? And you said, well, it could affect my friend.
Hmm.
No, I'm going to ask one more time because you said it will affect you. How
Yeah.
will it or can it affect you?
I care about the truth. I think there'd be a large cognitive dissonance if I had to go around
That
pretending
doesn't
that trans
even
women are
And
women.
then how
no.
does that affect you?
Yeah, cognitive dissonance is not good for anybody psychologically if you did any sort of reading on the literature.
No, again,
Cognitive
you
dissonance
vote
treats
Republican. You are
maladaptions.
in cognitive dissonance right now.
How
So
so?
so
Please
just
explain. Please
follow
explain.
a line of logic that
Yeah,
doesn't
no, please
collapse on
explain how I'm
itself.
wrong to say trans women are not women or trans men are
No,
not
we're
men.
not. We're not doing that. I'm wondering
Oh, why
how it's
not?
going to
Wait,
affect you.
that's my whole issue.
I don't care. I'm asking how it's going to affect you. You said cognitive dissonance.
Yeah,
What do you mean by
cognitive
that?
dissonance is not healthy for anybody to
Okay,
have.
so explain how the cognitive dissonance is going to hurt you.
Yeah, well, it
Of me
creates like
identifying as a
maladaptions.
woman.
Do you think it's good to be rational, to be logical?
It can be, sure. I
Yeah,
also think it's also good to be empathetic and
yeah.
emotional.
I don't think it's very empathetic to women's or gendered spaces to say things that are
I
false
didn't
to
ask your
trans women.
opinion on gendered spaces. I asked you again how
It
this
doesn't. A
affects you.
policy doesn't have to
I'm
directly
only
affect
asking
me
how it
to
affects
that.
you. But we're
It
talking
doesn't.
right now about how it affects you. And you
Okay,
keep wanting to run from that. So
for
again,
argument's sake,
how
let's
is
say
this
it doesn't affect
cognitive
me.
dissonance going to affect you?
Let's say for argument's sake, it doesn't affect me. That doesn't really have any impact on my argument
Okay, so
whatsoever.
then okay, cool. So it doesn't affect you. Who does it affect?
Yeah, people who any sort of gendered space, such as prisons, sports,
How does it
grants,
affect
federal
them?
grants by the government that are based on gender, such as
How does
research
pick
and
one of those?
scholarships.
Just pick one of those,
Well,
please.
okay, sure, whatever one you want to talk about. We could talk about sports if you want.
Sure.
Accent is slipping.
Yeah. Sorry about your
Whatever you
accent, bud.
say, darling.
You're an idiot. So how does it hurt women's sports?
Yeah, it's unfair because we ontologically draw these categories based on sex, right?
How
That's
does
how we
it
just do.
hurt? That's just a statement. How does it
Right.
hurt women's
Oh, I thought you
sports?
could do. I thought you could say you were
No,
able
I'm
to be able
asking
to
you
answer how
questions
two
and
plus
you're
two
really
plus
bad
four.
at answering
So,
them. You just
for
keep
example,
saying the same
it'd
shit.
be
Shush, shush,
right. It's
shush,
unfair.
shush,
It's
shush,
unfair.
shush. How?
I didn't know how. Okay, so didn't realize I
How?
had to explain how it's unfair.
Okay, go ahead.
So unfair because there are ontological systemic advantages to being of the male sex,
Okay. What are
right?
those ontological and systemic advantages?
Ontological. Do you know what ontological?
Ontological.
Yeah.
Yes,
Dealing with
sorry.
the nature of being. We got it. Please
Right.
don't. You learned a Fobro word. Let's move on.
Oh, thanks for trying to discredit my argument by calling me a filbur.
We're
Anyway,
not.
so
We're asking you questions
ontologically
and
means
again,
lung
I'm not
capacity,
asking you what
heights.
it means.
I'm trying to tell lung capacity, blood cell count, limb length, bone density, mo- uh, motor cell recruitment, satellite cells, to obviously hormones. Even though you could say those fluctuate, but I just gave you a bunch of them besides hormones.
Sure. And so this is affecting women's sports how?
I just said it's unfair
No,
if
how
there's a
is it
male.
affecting
You
women's
dude, you
sports? I
didn't
didn't ask you
even let
for
me
you
finish
to.
a
I
single
didn't ask you
sentence.
again to say your definition.
It's
How is this hurting
ontologically
women's sports
unfair
now?
if you
No,
let people
how
with
is it affecting
advantages.
it now? Give me an
Oh, how's
example.
it affecting it now? Well, right now
Yeah.
you could say that there's an unfair advantage to any male
No, give me an
performing in female
example.
sports.
This is just
Sure, I could
yeah.
say
Give me an
Leah Thomas.
example.
Sure, Leah, any trans, Leah Thomas is fine.
She took fifth place.
And that's a fifth place that a woman could have.
She
So
lost
what do
to
you, any
four
place matters.
biological.
Any
She
place
lost. Hold
matters.
on,
Doesn't
hold on,
matter.
hold
Doesn't
on,
matter
hold
though.
on. Oh, it does matter because she lost to four biological women,
And how
and
she took a spot away.
she tied with what's the
Doesn't
other
matter.
swim?
Leah
And
Thomas took away a
hold
fifth
on,
place
I'm
spot
not
there.
done. She
You do
didn't no,
realize on
and she
college
tied,
teams, it doesn't
and
matter.
guess what? When that person transitioned, their times went down. They lost. You
Yep.
lose bone density
Still
without
retained advantages.
testosterone.
You lose
You
some, not
lose
all.
lung.
You
You
lose some,
lose
not all.
lung
You lose
capacity. No,
some,
you
not all.
shut the fuck up when I'm talking. Jesus, dude.
Oh
I know
man,
you're so funny. You're so funny. You don't give a fuck about any of this.
I
You're
do.
just like a
It's just
big.
you're
You're
saying
just a
wrong
bigot. So
information.
give me an. So Leah Thomas. That's your one example. Somebody who took
Any
fifth
other
place,
trans?
tied for fifth place. That's your big example.
Yeah,
That's
that's a fifth place.
devastating to our.
That's a
That's so
fifth. That's
devastating
a
to
fifth.
us.
You're using like the Nirvana fallacy just because it hasn't
Shut
happened yet.
up. Nobody cares about
Just
it.
because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it's unfair. Is
Nirvana.
it
I'm
unfair? Wait,
asking
wait,
you.
wait.
No,
Is it unfair?
you don't
Is it
care
unfair?
about this.
Is it
You
unfair?
don't care
I
about
do. Is it
this.
unfair?
No,
Of course I care. Why do you think I'm joining a live right now? I do care.
because
Why?
you're a bigot and you like attention,
Okay,
and women
I care
don't
about the
talk
truth.
to
I'm
you.
intellectually
Uh,
open. If you
you're
could
not an
persuade me.
intellectual. You're a
Okay.
dummy.
Says the guy who can't respond to a single argument I put forth. Why is
I'm
it
not.
unfair?
You keep changing the
It's unfair.
subject. I'm
It's
asking
that
you
fifth
what
place.
the big problem is.
Leah Thomas doesn't have to be unfair. Leah Thomas could win fifth place, 10th place.
What was
That's still
unfair?
a,
Did you do a genetic makeup of both the athletes and see what their levels were? Do you know the levels of these two
I
athletes?
believe that's why there's randomized testing and drug testing.
Well, do you know the difference between these two
You're
athletes
asking an
physically?
epistemic question. Do I know the difference
I'm
between them?
asking you a fucking
Yeah,
question. This isn't a
epistemic question.
Philbro
Yep.
argument.
So what
Do you
the
know the
difference
difference between their bodies? Do you have any
between whose
personal
bodies?
knowledge?
Between whose bodies? Between
Leah
who?
Thomas and whatever her name is.
Yeah, I could tell you ontologically. That's why we draw those sex
No,
differences.
have
And
you
No,
done
you
any
absolutely
testing?
don't know.
wait, what? I could
Have you done
say.
any test? Has anybody
Hold on.
tested these two women to compare the differences?
You do realize we use
No, I'm asking.
literature
That's
to
an
draw
easy
these
question, my
distinctions,
friend.
right?
That's an easy
Wait, do
question, my
we
friend.
always test? Do we always
It's
test every
no. So
single?
then, how do you
Wait.
know? So
Can
I'm
I ask
asking,
you a
how do you
question?
know there was an advantage?
Because that's how do I know that? Because that is a male.
Because I
That is a
think that
male.
there was an advantage.
Because
That's
Leah
why. You
Thomas
don't
is a
even
male,
know
and
if
there's
there was an
Leah.
advantage.
Wait. So now you're asking an episteme. When we test people, athletes for drugs, do we know there's
No.
necessarily an
Stop.
advantage?
Stop. Hold on.
Do we know
Hold
there's
on.
an advantage?
Hold
No,
on.
but we
I'm
draw
asking.
conclusions from the literature.
Shush. Shush. I'm
So that's an
asking.
epistemic question.
Shut the fuck up. I'm asking if you know the difference between these two specific
Yep.
athletes.
Yep.
What were their levels?
Yeah, so I believe Leah Thomas's hormone still was above like 100 nanomoles per deciliter, which is above any.
Where did you get these numbers? Let me pull these up. Where'd you get
Yeah,
these
well,
numbers?
I'm getting it from I believe the Collegiate Federation of Sports or whatever body of collegiate sports that regulates hormone levels. They don't require it to be in line with most females' hormone levels.
I'm asking what Leah
No,
Thomas's
where is
numbers
your
were.
source?
Wait. Do I have to prove? So let me just get this straight. Do I have to prove that somebody who's on steroids has an advantage by getting there? But we don't do this with any other sort of advantage, do we? Wait, would you agree? Wait,
yeah,
hold on. Would you
Not on
agree that there's
steroids.
no fair advantage?
No,
to
you
steroids?
don't because steroids are banned.
Wait,
in
why are they
But
banned?
in some
Why do they-
organizations,
we don't prove
I'm not
in every
done,
single
dude.
case.
I'm not done, dude.
Yeah, but we
I'm
don't
not
prove in every
done.
single
This is
case
not
that
an
there's an
opportunity
advantage.
for you to be on your soapbox and spout bigotry.
It's not. It's just showing
Yeah,
the
so
logical
if
contradiction.
you told me, no, be quiet. You told me that you knew the difference between these two specific athletes.
Yeah,
I asked,
based
you're like,
on-
yes, I know the difference. I said, where'd you get that information? And you're
Yeah.
not
Do
providing
you,
that for me.
males largely, 99.99%
I'm asking
of
these
the
two
time.
specifics. I'm not asking for a generalization of male and female.
I'm telling you why. And do you have any reason to suppose that Leah Thomas does not have an advantage? By the way,
Sure.
why?
Well, because
Prove
when
it.
because Leah Thomas took fifth place.
That has no proof. That's no evidence, man.
It's better than a
What do you
made-up
mean?
statistic about
Wait,
her
what's a
hormone
made-up
levels.
statistic that males have higher blood cell
No,
count, satellite
asked
cells?
I asked what Leah Thomas's levels were. You're claiming that she had an
don't
unfair
have to
advantage
know,
over
just
these
like I
other
don't-
women,
I don't
and
have
I'm
to know.
Made up
asking you
a
to prove.
statistic.
I don't.
I'm asking
Wait,
you to
wait,
prove that.
Wait, there's guys on steroids that
I don't care
outperform
about
some
dude.
natural athletes.
You are
Yet we
such a
ban.
fucking runner.
Wait, no. This is the same
No,
logical conclusion.
it's not.
You're
This
saying I
isn't
have to-
Armand.
yeah.
Here's the problem.
What's up?
We are not having a philosophical debate.
Everything
I'm asking
is
you.
actually
Shut
everything is
up.
philosophical when you
Shut
think about
up. I'm asking you a specific question,
Sure.
and you refuse to answer it. The
Sure,
answer
just
is
by
you
being
don't
a male,
know,
the bone
right?
density levels are.
The answer is you don't know, right?
no,
Because you've never
we do
tested
know.
these two
Wait,
athletes.
we can logically say that there's.
I'm not asking about logically. I'm asking, do
So
you
you're
know?
illogical? You're
Do you
illogical.
know? Oh my God, dude. I'm going to ask the question one more time. You have one
Sure.
more chance to answer this. Do
Yes, I
you
do.
know
Yep.
the difference in levels between these two women?
Not exactly, nor do I have to.
Okay, thank you. So
Thank
how
Nor
do
do
you.
I
you
have to.
then? So then, how do you then determine that there was an advantage?
Because males have higher blood cell counts, have higher
But sometimes
when
women have higher blood cell counts. Sometimes women have higher testosterone.
yeah,
We're talking
very, very
specifically in
rarely.
this
That's why.
instance. How do we determine who had the advantage here?
How do we determine? I guess you'd say that Leah Thomas is a male, and we know that by going on
Yeah. See.
hormones,
Yeah. So this
that
is so
doesn't
your
erase any
argument.
advantage.
Yeah. So this is your argument. You don't like
But
trans
we don't
people.
do that with any other unfair advantage. Like we don't test a guy who's steroided out to see if there's an actual biological advantage. We know that inherently there's a significant risk that carries with it from
Yeah.
ontologically being
Those are
on
those
steroids
are
and having it. Therefore, we
those are
say it's an unfair
performance
advantage.
enhancing. Those are
So is male. So is
Hold
being a
on. Be
male.
quiet.
So is
Be
being a
quiet.
male.
Be quiet. Those are performance enhancing drugs.
Just
It's
like
very
having more
different.
platelets.
Shush,
What do
dude.
you? How do you
Wait.
think is
Hold on.
performance enhancing?
God damn, dude.
Guys,
This
tap the
is you're
screen while he's
so annoying.
rambling and talking in circles.
I asked a
Those are
very
Let's get
direct.
to
those are. I'm not
150K.
done talking, dude. Those are performance enhancing drugs. When you're talking about in this case with Leah Thomas, none of the treatments that she underwent were performance enhancing. So you're comparing two very different things. Now, if you're going to say that she has an innate advantage over these other athletes that she competed with, then you've got to have proof of that. And the proof of that can't be you speaking in generalities, right? Now, I'm cool with sports organizations if they want to start testing hormone levels and making divisions based on hormone
They
levels
do.
rather than gender. Great. I don't see that much use for gender in general. But until you can make a coherent argument about these specific people and your argument is based in fact, then why the fuck do I care what you have to say?
I'll tell you why. So when you say that people on steroids have an inherent advantage, what
I didn't
advantage are
say
you
they had
talking
an
about?
inherent advantage.
No
I
You
one
said
said
had
it's
it's an,
said
a
that.
well, you said it's
performance
performance enhancing, right?
yes.
Why is
Yes,
it
because
performance enhancing?
well, there depends on what kind of
Right.
performance enhancing drug you're on.
Yeah, that's true. It increases testosterone, which
Yep,
increases
and those
satellite
are
cells, which
what?
increases
Illegal,
recovery
right?
time. Those are the same exact
Hold
vectors.
on. And
Uh,
those are
those are
and
the same
those
exact
are
vectors
and
that
those are
males have
banned,
an
right?
advantage over
And those
women.
are banned, right?
Well, why do you think they're banned? Because they're unfair.
Exactly.
But
So,
we don't check every single
exactly. We're on
guy
the
to see
same
if they
so we're
have
on the same
a
page
higher
here.
blood
We're
cell count. We don't.
exactly.
We
Hold
just
on.
check
Hear
for
me
a
out.
proxy of that.
God,
Hear
your
me
voice
out.
is
So
ridiculous. Just
your
talk
stupid
normal.
accent is back.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. Like again, I just said I'm okay with sports leagues choosing to decide to separate based on hormone levels. That would be fine. What I'm not okay with is discriminating based on gender. I
Okay.
don't like that. I don't like discriminating based on gender.
You do realize there's other besides hormones, right?
However we want to test it, we can test it. Like
There's
these sports
many vectors.
organizations, not in the middle of my sentence, dude.
I
These
mean, you
sports,
interrupted
not
me.
in the middle of my
You
sentence,
interrupted
dude.
me, but that's fine.
Not in the middle of my
Yeah, go
sentence,
ahead.
dude.
Go ahead. You
Yeah, these
interrupted.
sports organizations, the governing bodies that run them, like they will have to make determinations. There's no question that this is an issue that needs to be addressed. What I'm saying is that you don't actually give a fuck about it.
I do.
You just don't like trans people. You started and the reason I know that is you
Nope.
started this by saying Donald Trump can define what a woman
Yeah,
is.
that's the root of the issue.
Because you don't believe that trans people exist, and you hide behind women's sports because you're a fucking coward and you
That
won't
was
just
one of my
admit
examples.
that you don't think that trans people should
No, that was just
exist.
one of
You
my examples,
absolutely
and that
do.
is
No,
the
wait, let me
logical
say something about women's sports because I just looked it up. So there have
Sure,
been
go ahead.
32 trans athletes who've competed openly in college sports. And since, like, let's just focus on women since you're
32
obsessed
too
with
many.
them. There's 32 in 2022, just female, there's 2,000 or 229,060 athletes. We're talking about 32 in men's and women's sports total. And just women's sports, there's 229,060 athletes. There's 293,105 in men's sports in the NCAA. And this is what he's talking about. He's trying. This is what I'm saying about. Please don't pretend you care about women's sports. We're talking
Why?
about 32 total athletes. This is a non-issue. If you want
32
to
too
talk
many.
about, if you want to talk about gender discrimination, if you want to talk about pay discrimination, if you want to talk about things that matter in women's sports, then let's have a conversation. You are the most disingenuous person. This is all of a sudden white males care
Nope.
about women's sports because of a
That's a
trans
bit
issue. That
racist
is not an issue.
and bigoted.
32 total athletes. Is it Armand out of 500,000?
It's a fallacy. Saying it hasn't happened yet, but us still allowing the process to still happen is a fallacy. I'm saying this process is
That's a fallacy.
No, it's
biologically
That's a
not.
active because
fallacy.
you're
I
saying
don't
it hasn't
address any
happened
real
yet,
points.
but yet you're
I
not.
just
Yeah,
I
you just
just
interrupted
attack
me.
the type of argument that you make. I don't address
I'm
any
the guy
real
that
points.
made up statistics
Didn't
for
make up a
in
single
my
statistic. I
argument,
don't
but
know what
is
you're
now
talking about.
claiming a fallacy. You
I'm the
literally
one who's
made
sort.
up
Wait,
a
I have
random
a bunch of
statistic.
science to back
Just
me.
just stop. Let your line of logic, like,
My line of
please,
logic is that
please
you're saying
stop.
32, only 32. That's a fallacy. Just because it's only 32 doesn't
No, it's 32
can't
athletes
happen.
total is what
That
I'm saying.
right,
Out of
32 too many
500,000
people that
plus.
shouldn't be there.
500, so that's my point. Out of nearly 500,000. This is a
Doesn't
non-issue in
no,
college
that's a
sports. In
fallacy.
men's and women's sports, this is a non-issue. Choose an issue that matters,
It's
that is
it's
affecting
first of
someone.
all, there's yeah, I think it's an issue because again of the logic and the rationality behind it. And just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it's not going to.
What's happening with your accent? Please, it's
I don't know what
getting
you're talking about.
weirder.
That's
It's
really
getting
kind of
weirder.
bigoted to say that just because I have an accent.
Problem is you don't understand how drug testing works in sports. You don't get it at all.
Okay.
You just assume that everybody's testing for steroids and that anyone that's on hormone therapy is using synthetic testosterone. That's not how it works.
No, I
The
never said
testing that
that.
is used that no, that's what you're assuming.
No, I didn't. No.
You're assuming they're getting an unfair advantage based on a performance enhancement of hormones being induced into their bodies. Correct?
Who, wait, no, I'm saying
Yeah,
males
you are.
have an inherent advantage in
No, they
many
don't.
vectors besides
No, they
hormones,
don't. No, they don't.
over
Because
females.
no, they
Really?
don't.
Blood cell count,
No,
satellite
they
cells,
don't. Because
bone
the hormone
density.
therapy that they undergo puts them
Wait,
under the
hormones
threshold.
don't affect
Bone
It
blood
puts
bone
them.
cells.
No,
density is reversed.
you
Bone
Wait,
density is
bone
reversed.
density
So is
is not
wait,
in line
shut
with
the
females.
fuck
shut.
up
For
for
a
a
You need to shut up
second.
and you need to listen
Hang
here
on,
because
hold
you
on.
don't understand.
bone,
Because the TE levels that are tested for in sports to make sports fair, it's generally 1 to 1. That's like the general
No.
human thing. When you're talking about physical athletes, especially males who are athletes, the threshold is 4 to 1. In trans females, men who have transitioned to be a female at that point, their testosterone levels, their TE levels are lower than the 4 to 1 threshold in every single case. Every single one. So they're competing at a lower level than they ever would have in a men's field. They're competing closer to female levels, in which female levels are closer to 2 to 3 to 1.
Still advantage though, right? Still
No, it's
above
not.
natural
No,
female levels?
they're exactly in the same field. That's what I'm
They're
trying to.
not.
That's
wait,
what,
They're
there
you
not.
don't
there are
understand it.
there are
And even if
female
they were,
swimmers. There are female swimmers who were born female, went through no transition, no nothing, and their levels are higher. You're talking about averages.
Absolutely, it's a
There are
spectrum.
already women competing with higher levels.
wait,
This already
yeah,
happens. The
you're right.
problem is you've drawn this arbitrary
No,
line.
not me,
Shut up. I'm not. This
biologists,
is the middle of
biologists
my
have
sentence.
study after
You've
study.
drawn this arbitrary line
Not me.
between men and women, and then you use averages, and you're leaving out the
I don't.
fact that,
Biologists
like,
do.
these are actual averages. That's how statistics
Wait, it's
work.
not just
In fact,
hormones though.
most of the time, you know who you don't see playing professional sports? Small
You.
men with low testosterone.
Yeah, they are. They're
Does
jockeys.
that mean that they are there women that have
Horse
higher
jockeys. They're
testosterone than
runners.
some men? Absolutely. Are there
That's
women
not
who
true.
are far closer to being a professional athlete in a men's sport than some men? Absolutely. You're using
No.
averages to make a dumb fucking comparison.
Wait, that's how we draw.
Leah Thomas falls within the range. She falls within all these
How do you know
treatments,
that?
all these things, all these advantages that you're talking about. She falls within those
How do you
ranges,
know that?
but because it is above because it is above the standard or the average number,
Yes.
you're going to be like, "Oh, well then she can't compete." Well,
Well,
then
that's what.
nobody above
She's not
average
above.
can compete.
She's
Only
not
the
above the
average can
He's
average.
compete
monologuing, bro.
in sports. I am monologuing.
Yeah.
Only the average can compete in sports now. That's what you're saying.
No,
If you're
not at
above
all.
average in any of those
I'm
indicators,
saying no
then
unfair
then you
advantage.
have an unfair advantage. Guess what,
Yep.
dude? Sports are fucking unfair. Sports are largely based on, like, how you were your genetics are. Your ability to be competitive in sports relies a lot more on who your parents were and who your parents decided to fuck than it does anything else. It's mostly genetic. By nature, sports are
Sure.
unfair. So for
Kind of.
you to say like, "Oh, it's unfair," and then you can't point to the part where
I
it was
did multiple
unfair for her,
times.
you
I did
no, you
multiple
used
times.
averages. You don't
No,
know
no,
her
no,
numbers. You don't
no,
know the other swimmers' numbers. You know nothing except for that you don't like trans people.
no. I could tell you what the numbers are. So
Her numbers?
no, I don't have to. That's not what we do.
Okay,
So
what
if you
about
don't know
the
what
other
I do,
competitors? What
for
about the other
example,
compet? No, no, I don't care.
they
What
have
about the
an
other
unfair
competitors?
advantage just by
What about the other
valuing.
competitors? What were their numbers?
Wait, do you know?
I don't. I'm not making claims. You
Right,
are.
I'm making
If
a
you're going to make
claim
the
that by
claim that there was an
virtue of being
unfair
female,
advantage, nope,
yeah,
hold on. If you're making the claim that she had an unfair advantage, it's not your job to substantiate that.
yeah,
And you
I
can't
am I'm trying to.
substantiate it by using averages because we've just established that people fall well below and above those averages.
Yeah.
So, in order to say Leah Thomas had an advantage, you're now going to have to tell me what her levels were and what the levels were of every other athlete that she
hmm
swam against. So, can you give me those numbers, or are you just like a
Well,
bigot?
so here's the
Can you give
so
me those numbers?
I would love to
Can
see
you
the
give me
numbers.
those numbers?
No, I don't have to.
No. So
I don't
then
have
why
to.
do you have
No,
a
I'll tell
conclusion?
you why. I'll tell you why.
Then why
Can
do you
we
I'm
have
be
a
trying
done
to
with
answer.
conclusion?
this?
I'll
This
tell you
is a
why.
Sure.
joke.
This
Yeah,
isn't a
that's
joke.
fine.
This is actual straight science. I'll tell you why. So we don't test every single guy who.
Pass. Pass.
There are many women above averages. It's such a wide spectrum. It would disqualify women. It makes no sense. And the future of sports is to look at things like hormone profiles and just group people that way
They're already
outside of
doing that.
gender.
That's what
Yeah, they
he's.
already are. I'm aware of that. I know. I'm an athlete. That's how
That's
things
why.
are happening. That's the direction it's moving. That's where the Olympic Committee is moving. This
Correct.
is a it's a non-issue now
It's
in women's
it's
sports.
making
This is
it
just a right-wing bigot talking point. This is not an issue.
it's
32
making sports
total
more fair.
athletes.
It really is making sports more fair. It's going to make sports more inclusive. It's going to make sports give sports the ability to have like more competitive leagues, especially like when you're talking about like instead of like the NBA G League, you might be able to have 4, 5, 6 competitive leagues. It's going to make sports more competitive. It's going to make it a better product. The only reason any of these people are against it is because they don't believe trans people exist. They just think that it's a made up thing. They hate that, and so they come on and pretend that they care about sports. Nobody cares about sports.
They just don't
Uh,
like change.
I don't remember anybody complaining when Annika Sorenstam played in a PGA event. She made the cut. She took somebody's spot because it was a sponsor's exemption. She took a man's spot in the tournament, and she made the cut. Nobody said anything.
Well,
Nobody gave a shit about. Nobody gave a shit about that. Why? Because she was good enough. She's good enough to play. She wasn't out there lapping. But you know what she was doing in women's sports? Dominating. She dominated the LPGA tour. And was it because she wasn't a woman? No, it was because she was fucking way better. She was just way better than everybody else.
well, look at look at the top tennis players right now. Serena and the Williams sisters. Look at them. Look at the way that
Probably not the top anymore, but they were the top.
they were, and they weren't the top by just a little bit either. They were massively overperforming in every division that they were in. It was absolutely incredible. But beside the point, our mom doesn't understand that the IOC regulations for trans athletes is extremely stringent. They're required to go through 12 months of subtestosterone testing to prove, and they go through not bone density, muscle mass test. And if their mass isn't decreasing at a level that they deem appropriate, they'll just completely 100% disqualify them from competing at all. The stringent testing for IOC regulations for trans athletes is insane. It's higher than UFC, it's higher than boxing, it's higher than football, it's higher than track stars, it's higher than the Olympics at this point, because the IOC for trans athletes is very biased towards that, because they're trying to eliminate the argument of elite performance in trans athletes. It's just not true. They can't find any acknowledgement whatsoever of it, and so they've done this to just, like I said, extend the test. Your muscle mass starts decreasing after hormone testing. Your muscle mass starts decreasing in 3 to 4 months, and so they require you go through a full 12 months of testing before you can compete. So it's very fair. It's not only fair, it's it's probably more fair as far as the cross competition than any other competition, because not everyone is tested. You can sit on a high threshold, and if you've consistently tested at a high threshold, you can slowly peak that, and that's how performance enhancing abuse happens. It's because they figured out how to monitor the levels, and they figured out how to gradually increase them in a way that they don't get flagged. And so, anyway, Armand's just an idiot, and that's all I was coming up for. You guys, hi.
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 I'm gonna go eat my corn dogs and finish putting up merch. The new RTP shirt is up. You guys have a good one.
Yay! Thanks, buddy. All right, I accidentally sent a request. Sorry, Boston Brian, I didn't mean to send that request. Yeah, I don't want to. I don't want to argue that. I will I will forever and always, when somebody brings up trans issues, just ask people how it affects them, because that's
Yeah,
all.
if you
That's
want
all
to
I
have a
really
light
want to know.
discussion about it, that's fine. But that's, yeah, I totally agree with you. It should be how you're affecting, or how is it affecting women's sports, which it unequivocally it's not. So if please don't come up and say, if you want to say trans people don't exist, I want to argue with you about that. That's one story. But if you come the line of I'm protecting women's sports, I'm concerned about women's sports, I've explained to you now that's not a thing. So you don't need to come up here and let us know that you care about women's sports.
And again, it's always, you've pointed this out many times, but it is never a man coming on here to talk about a female transitioning to male. It's always the other way
Never.
around, or woman to man. I always get that mixed up, but yeah, never. It's a little bit of a self-report, I think. You
Oh,
have any
I
thoughts on
mean,
that?
it's just like yelling like, "Oh, hey, I'm a bigot."
Yeah, you might as well
Like,
just say
just
it.
come up and scream you're a bigot. Like, just do
Yeah.
that. It will save us all more time.
You did get called a racist quite a few times right there. I don't know if you want to address that. Would you like to address that claim that you're a
No,
racist?
no,
No.
I'm absolutely not.
Did we cover all the stories that were on our list?
Oh, yeah, I mean, yes. Wait, did we? Let me just double check. I mean, other than I think we should just mention really quick, like that over the weekend, there were the 37th and 38th mass tragedies in the country, in which four or more victims were killed, the highest number of mass tragedies in any year since at least 2006. Last year's record was 36. And if you don't know, like in Dallas, a 21-year-old man who was supposed to be wearing an ankle monitor because of previous aggravated assault charge walked into a house and unalived five people, a toddler, and three adults. Yeah, so that happened. And then in a suburb of Vancouver, Washington, five family members were unalived in a murder or suicide. So yeah, we're at 37th and 38th. We've now surpassed last year's record. When does it end? It's an 85-15 issue. There's never been an issue for common sense gun control. Not to take anyone's 2A rights away. Nobody is trying to take your rights away, but for common sense gun control, the number one unaliver of children in this country are guns.
Let's just continue to not do anything about it. That'd be
Yeah.
good.
Just, who cares about the children? That's fine.
Dusteroni, don't know if your opposition. My handler is here. I'm assuming to maybe correct some information. Hello, handler. I'm listening, but I just have to turn off
Hello.
my heater real
Can you
quick.
guys hear me
Hey.
okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. It's something Jay said earlier that I wanted to touch on. They always seem to go for trans women instead of trans men. And there is a very, very deep rooted reason for that. I said this in the Discord the other day, but I find a lot of transphobes who have a problem with trans women specifically take the prospect of somebody being a man transitioning to the lesser option, in quotes, of being a woman. And the idea of that is so alien to them because why would somebody who is a man who has all this privilege, who has all this perceived superiority transition to quote the lesser sex? It's based in misogyny and it's based in male superiority is what it is.
Absolutely. Could not agree more.
Yeah, yeah. I just wanted to come up and drop that little food for
Nugget
thought,
of
I
truth.
guess.
Thank you.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Always.
Can you drop me? I'm not sure how.
Yeah, I got you.
Thank
I'm letting
you.
these gifts flow in first. Sorry.
Yeah,
People are
Jesus.
shooting a gift. Yeah, just chill
Thank you
until the
guys.
gifts are done. You don't want to leave before they're done. Let's make you more uncomfortable and just sit here
I
in
guess.
awkward silence. Should we do
Awkwardly in
that?
silence.
But like, I was in competitive sports for like a really long time, like early into
What'd
my
you play?
transition too. I did javelin, I did soccer, I did hockey, and almost every time, like especially in javelin, I always lost to like AFAB people. Like I always got to like high points in the sports, and as soon as I got into like super competitive, I always lost to like cis women as a trans man.
Oh, I didn't know
Yeah.
that. I didn't know that you competed. I had no idea about any of this
Yeah,
stuff.
I did.
How did I miss that?
I did competitive javelin for 3 years.
That's hard.
Yeah, it was. In my school, I broke female records before I transitioned, and then after I transitioned, my records got broken by like other AFAB people. I did competitive soccer for 12 years. Got provincials my first year when I was pre-transition. Post-transition, never got that far again. Like it's there's no incongruency and fairness for trans people. Like we are scrutinized in sports. We are put on like it's just like Whisper was saying. We are put under like constant observation when we are in competitive spaces. It's insane.
Did you feel that from the governing bodies too, or like the officials, or was that something like other coaches are talking about? How did that, I guess, manifest to you? How did you experience that?
It was definitely more so parents of the opposite team members. I didn't compete like after I became like legal adult. I was like always a kid, like a trans kid competing in professional sports with like people my age. So we did like travel and stuff. We did like we fought in like provincial, national, region levels. And every single time, like there was a trans person like me or a trans person on another team, it was never the it was never the refs, it was never the coaches, it was always the parents of the opposite team members.
I know, yeah, parents never like their kids to lose. So I'd imagine that if their kid loses to you, that's going to be their out every time, rather
Oh,
than just acknowledge that maybe their kid's not the greatest fucking athlete ever to live.
yep, absolutely.
They'll turn that loss on you and call you the cheater. I'd imagine, right?
Yep, every
Here's
single
the
time.
the crazy thing about sports and like the lesson that's supposed to be sports is supposed to be character building. Like, why do you put your kids in sports at a young age? It's to teach them lessons about life, about being on a team, about working together. And if there's like
Exactly.
one lesson I learned in my lifetime of amateur sports, like that's what I did my whole life, through college, it was just that no matter how good I am, and I was pretty good, like there is always someone better than you.
Yep, exactly.
There just is, genetically, or is putting in more work than you, like that is the lesson I learned because I had been indoctrinated by my parents into perfectionism. Like if I wanted a drop of affection, then I had to be perfect. And
Yes.
what I learned in sports was like it's impossible.
Yep, yeah. I did
And
hockey
what
for a
happened to
couple
learning
years.
life lessons in sports? Like
Yeah,
the
like
life
it's all
lesson is
about
there's always someone better than you. You can't try. You just need to do your best.
yeah.
Yeah, it's nice. Conservatives have co-opted sports so that they can use that rather than teaching bigotry at home. They can teach it through sports. It's a little easier to teach bigotry that way. I
I
think that's
feel
what they've
like
decided to do.
yeah, it's a little bit of projection on the half of the parents too. For a lot of kids, when I was in sports, I did hockey for a couple of years too. Every time my team lost or I got like multiple penalties in a game, because I used to be like super aggressive in hockey.
In no way is it surprising to me that you got lots of penalties.
Yeah.
I think no matter what you do, you probably get lots of penalties.
Oh yeah.
That's my guess. All right.
For every penalty I got, my alcoholic stepfather made me run 3 laps around the house. Yeah. So if that's not character building, I don't know what is.
That's right. Build it. You probably built a
Sounds
trail
like my
around the
childhood.
house. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to hop up and drop some thoughts. But yeah, that's all I got for you guys today.
I appreciate it.
Thank
Thanks,
you so much.
Trash A.
Yeah, of
Guys,
course.
tap the screen. Let's get to 200,000. Invite your favorite or least favorite Republicans. We
Yeah, I
can
forgot.
have some like non-confrontational or confrontational talks, whatever you prefer. But I think that's enough of
Yeah.
women's sport of people trying to defend women's sports. I think
Yeah, if you want to come up and have a honest, good faith conversation, we would love that. But if you come up as a douchebag, then that's how you get treated. That's just kind of the way that it works. I don't allow monologuing bigotry. If you're just monologuing bigotry and you're not backing up with data, you don't get to talk. That's
in
the
a
rule
weird
here.
accent.
You can only monologue bigotry if you're using data that makes any sense, which is going to be difficult for you. But yeah, we don't just platform bigotry to platform bigotry. By the way, sorry for those who hate Armand and don't want me to platform him. I agree with you, he sucks, but sometimes we have to address shitty people. Dusteroni, if you're up, I'm going to bring you up. I just need to let you know, if you're not, Jen's going to cut you off probably. She's going to drop you because she's on a rampage. But Dusteroni, what's up? Welcome.
Hey, what's up? Look,
Hey.
I'm not a Democrat. I'm not like a far lefty or anything, but I'm not a douche either. So we can still have a conversation.
Okay.
And I won't try and justify, banning trans athletes from any sort of sports. So there
That
we
is good
go.
news.
Three
That's good news.
ticks in the box for me. I'm glad you decided to vet me appropriately and allow me up here with you
Welcome.
fine, classy people.
Careful.
Okay, all right. You just fine people.
Yeah, there we go.
All right. So specifically, I came up to talk about kind of the. It seems to be that there's something that's being overlooked, or maybe just kind of taken for granted, in that the rural kind of it's not like a class, but the rural group of people in America seem to be catching the short end of the stick from the left side of the aisle.
What do you mean?
Well, the left side of the aisle specifically. One other time I came and talked to you about the overdevelopment of cities and how the urban sprawl is
Oh, yeah.
leading to the downfall of farming communities throughout the country.
Yeah.
Well, I also see some transgressions in the way of firearms. I'm not like an AK guy or anything. I don't even actually see the point of it, but I do see the necessity to have people using firearms in rural communities. Do you
Sure.
do you see that? So
I mean, I'm pro Second Amendment. So, I'm with you
how
there.
does that manifest itself in your life?
What do you mean?
Well, when you say you're pro 2A, is that just a stance, or are
Many
you just
people on the
saying that?
left are pro 2A, sir.
Yeah,
Sure,
yeah.
sure,
Being pro Second Amendment is about liberty. It's about freedom. Like it's the right has done a good job of pretending that the left is the side that doesn't want freedom. But like I own firearms.
Yeah.
I've
Okay.
used firearms for home protection. I don't hunt. I don't really like enjoy going out and shooting. That's not. I don't think that's very fun. I don't have a problem with people that do it for a sport. My only thing is that if we're going to have firearms, if we're going to be a country that allows its citizens to have firearms, then we also need to protect the citizens. We also need to help the citizens. And when we refuse to give universal access to mental health care and health care, it causes a real problem. Like we won't address the mental health issues that we have in this country. We won't address the things that happen that lead to mass violence. We won't address these like alt-right terrorist cells. We're maybe kind of starting to do it now, but we don't address the problem. So if we're not going to address the problem, then I don't think we should continue to have the right. I don't
Okay.
think that right itself should override everything else.
Okay, so
I would
you're
like to see.
contingent. You have contingent to a contingent to a stance, whereas mental health access needs to be more readily available before you support readily available access to firearms.
No, I mean, I still support readily. I'm not advocating for really any gun legislation specifically that I could think of. I definitely think we need to do a better job with background checks. I don't think that a gun purchase should have to happen on the spot. I don't think that it should be like going to Walmart. You can just pick up a gun. I'm fine with that process taking a little bit longer. I'm fine with it being a little bit safer. But mostly, I just somebody's going to eventually have to explain to the American people why we didn't do anything about guns. And I think the American people eventually are just going to say, "Fuck it!" Like we don't want to see any more of these tragedies at schools. We're done with that.
Well,
We
what
don't.
is there to
And we
do?
see it every time there is a tragedy. The idea of taking away assault weapons, it gets more and more popular.
Well, no, yeah. Listen, I don't actually advocate for the ownership of assault weapons. Those are military grade weapons. I think
Well, and that's what
military
common
style
sense gun
weapons.
control is.
Is
Common
that
sense
what
gun
it is?
control is
Okay,
just
all
that.
right.
Yeah,
Because I
that's
heard
what
you say that.
when Democrats are saying common sense gun control, that's all they're talking about is like, hey, do we need, ARs, or, like we need to streamline the background check process, things like this, or waiting periods. It's nothing about taking anyone's firearms away.
Yeah, okay, sure. And do you know, you guys seem pretty in the know. Do you guys have stats on what the style of weapons are prevalently used in these mass unalivings?
Yeah,
That
assault
feels
weapons.
like a softball. Yeah, when we're talking about these
I'm
types,
not
yeah, it's
trying to
almost
throw you a
always.
softball. I
Yeah,
just don't know,
yeah,
bro.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
People are going to accuse us of like planting you.
No, I'm not a
Ask
plant.
him
I
all.
really
Ask
want to
him the
know.
easy questions. Yeah, it's assault. Like it's assault weapons,
It is.
assault style weapon, whatever we want to call them.
Well, like what?
The gun people don't like that word. They don't like assault weapon. They don't like saying that. What does assault weapon mean?
They're not in
We
a,
know what it
they're
means.
not a shoddy or anything. I mean,
Not regularly. I mean, when you're looking at these, you look at any sort of mass unaliving. It's almost always some sort of assault rifle. There's other weapons there as well, but it's almost always some
so
sort of
how are
assault
they
rifle.
gaining access to assault weapons?
I don't know. What state do you live in?
I'm in northern Minnesota.
Okay, well, I'm in Arizona. I
You
could
can
probably
hear it.
go
I
one
don't you
mile in
know?
any
Yeah.
direction.
Sorry.
I could
Yeah.
probably go 1 mile in any direction and get one. But if it's underage people, generally it's from their parents. It's a weapon that wasn't properly stored, wasn't properly kept away
Okay, so they're
from
just using
people that are
these
under
AKs as like trophies, and then their kids are like, "Oh, that looks pretty.
ARs
Let's
usually.
that
Yeah,
oh
usually
ARs,"
AR.
and they're just
Yeah.
like, "Oh yeah, let's take this into a crowded area and see what's up." That's okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's interesting to know because really it's happening so much. I was wondering if there were any like clearly prevalent because out here in rural Minnesota you don't see many ARs or AKs.
Or people, probably.
Shut up, man. No, we have
Or
plenty of people.
electricity or plumbing
Shut
or any
up,
of that
bro.
stuff.
No, we're good. We're good. I got 5G fiber optic internet out here in rural
No,
Minnesota.
you don't.
Yes,
You
I
have
do.
Pony. You have Pony Express. You
Yeah,
fucking
yeah,
liar.
you're right. You caught me totally. Okay, so
Did you have? I
the-
think Felice is looking at some
Yeah.
of these stats. Real
yeah,
quick.
what is it? Yeah, you got something?
Yeah. So okay, so like I just want to before okay, it's important to note that the Violence Project looks at narrow subset of mass tragedies, those that occur in public places, take 4 or more lives, and have no connection to underlying criminal activity, meaning it excludes like domestic shootings that take place indoors, as well as unalivings in which dozens of people are injured but not killed. So the organization's data shows that handgun. So this is actually really interesting. So listen. So listen to this.
I was
So
really curious.
handguns are in fact the gun of choice in such attacks. Of 190 instances dating back to 1966, So these are, like we'll get into more recent in a second. Perpetrators in 80% of attacks use at least one handgun, while 28% use a semi-automatic assault weapon like an AR-15 or its variants. Of those shooters who used an assault weapon, 73% also carried a handgun. So it's usually they have both on them. And so then here's the more recent data. The
So
picture
the
starts to
handgun is the
change.
staple.
Well, they have a handgun and an assault. So just listen to this. However, when you
Okay.
look at more recent data, the picture starts to change. In the decade starting in 2010, some 34% of incidents now involved the assault weapon, while 66% didn't. And if you look at incidents in the last 3 years, assault weapons rifles have been used in 59% of
Oh,
mass
just in the
tragedies.
last 3
So
years, that really changed a
yeah,
lot in the
that's what,
last
but
3
that's
years.
what they're trying to say. So it went, are you listening to, are you, Dust, are you
No,
listening
I'm
though?
not listening.
It went from 28 to 34 to now 59.
Shit. Okay. All right. So
So
that's
that's,
definitely something
there's a,
recent.
so these weapons are being sold and accessed, whether
Where
legally
the hell
or
are they getting
illegally.
these weapons from?
What do you mean? You can legally just get one.
You can't get one around here, so that's not my
Listen,
life.
there was an assault weapons ban for a while under Obama, right? And then it
Sure,
just
I'm down with that.
expired. And then
Yeah.
it
Yes.
expired naturally, and that's why we're now seeing a rise in assault weapons being used in these tragedies.
What the
So,
fuck?
Dustaroni, in other, like where I live, we have like stores and stuff. There are these buildings that, like, you can even have a gun store, and it's just a building, and they sell guns. Not, I know for you, you guys have to order it through the magazine, but out here, that's where they're
Shut
getting them.
up.
They're going to gun stores. It's not through Sears Roebuck catalog that you get.
Ah, you got me there. No, dude, we could just walk in, but we have to wait our time, and we're not looking at them semi-automatics because them are nonsense. They're not functional. They're not practical. They don't serve a real purpose. It's for bullshit reasons. So, all right. So Arizona is, effed up.
It's the Wild
That's on
West,
you,
dog.
bro. You need to vote
Yeah, it's
somebody
the
else
Wild
in down
West
there.
out here.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
crazy. Okay, all right. Well, I'm glad I don't live down there. Hey, we are a blue state, and that has a
Yeah.
lot of goods. It has some. It has
Your
some
state
problems,
legislature is amazing, doing
yeah,
big things
yeah.
in
No, I
Minnesota.
like
The
Tim Walz,
progressives
and,
are.
and I'm not a lefty. I don't really adhere to a lot of leftist ideologies. Like, for instance, abortion. I do think that there are some. Well, and I don't want to switch the subject. So anyway, I
Well,
won't.
you can. You can. I think that sometimes what is often construed as like the Democrat view on abortion is like late term abortion or whatever it might be. The truth is, I think most Democrats that I talk to, their view is that they don't have a view. Their view is that that's between like a woman and her doctor and maybe her partner as well. That's the view. The view is again freedom. The view again is individual rights. The view again from the left is no government overreach. That we don't want the government telling us what we can and cannot
Okay,
do
so
with
the
our
right
bodies.
side is the government overreach, you're saying, when it comes
Well,
to
they're the
abortion?
ones saying that the government should get to say what women choose to do with their bodies, right?
They're
The
just saying,
government
like,
gets to
what is
dictate if you're
atrocious, right?
the government gets to dictate if your accidental pregnancy has to come to term.
Yeah.
It's not a small. That's big government. That's government overreach. That's the government telling you what to do.
Just
Should the government
where's
ever
the
be in a
revenue?
doctor office? Like Dustaroni, the government
Yeah.
shouldn't be in your doctor's
Well,
office
the
with you. Can
doctor's
you
not
agree
going to
with
be
that?
giving
You
up.
don't want the government in your doctor's
Listen.
office.
There are
And
times
we,
when the
as
government
people
in
with
there is good.
uteruses, are simply saying the government does not need to be in our doctor's office appointments either.
Yeah, I feel you. I think
Yeah, you
if
want
the
Ted-
That's
you
government
small
want Ted-
government. The government should never be in the doctor's office with us. That's
You
the
want Ted
small
Cruz
government
in your
Republicans
OBGYN
want.
office?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't need a government official sitting in on my pap smear. Like, thank you though. That's
And even like I know that's going too far, but even though that's not what would happen, I don't want the government when I leave the doctor to get a copy of what I just did.
or
For me, it's
they're
probably
tracking women's period cycles. I mean, this is a real thing. That's what Ron
listen,
DeSantis
those
is
states are
doing in
fucking
Florida.
stupid. Okay, that's stupid. But I'm
So where do you feel when you
No,
started
that's
this? You said
terrifying. It's
you felt like
terrifying.
yeah, it
sorry.
is terrifying.
You said you felt like that Democrats are leaving like the more of the rural Democrats behind. Are those kind of the issues you were talking about with gun control and abortion? Are
Yeah,
those
yeah,
the
I
ones where you
do.
feel like
And
you're being left
yeah,
behind?
and the value for the function that rural America plays in the overall system. Not necessarily, actually, it's kind of like an anti-capitalist role, honestly, because capitalism seems to be destroying the rural areas with overdevelopment and urban sprawl and such, like I mentioned before.
Preach.
And I don't know. Is that a like a lefty style argument or what?
Yeah.
Because
No,
listen, that
listen, you don't have to be left or right. Capitalism is destroying a lot of things, right? Like when privatized profit is the only thing that matters, a lot of things are being like that affects people, like in rural farmers. You know, like you're
yeah,
saying, overdevelopment of farmlands, all of these things, lands being bought up, like in rural areas. Yeah, it's overdevelopment is a
I feel like that
capitalism
gets
problem, 100%.
left
Yeah,
left out a lot.
yeah,
But
commercial farming hurt you guys,
of
right?
course,
It didn't hurt us necessarily. I mean, besides now maybe some of the diseases we're seeing,
Yeah.
but but at
Monsanto's
first
hurt
it was
us.
cool, right? Like we could get tomatoes. They were all genetically modified. They all looked good.
we had to feed the
We'd go
city.
get them whenever we wanted. Yeah, and we could get them right in the city, fresh produce right in the city. It was a convenience, but
Now it's
that type
crushing
of
us.
capitalism, that's actually what hurt you guys.
Yeah.
And I do think sometimes rural America forgets that the things that are actually hurting them are generally due to capitalism. They're not generally due to allowing some woman in New York City to choose whether or not she wants to have an abortion.
No,
You know,
no,
that
it's
doesn't,
about whether or not
right?
that
Yeah.
New York City person can choose the Honeycrisp apple that was grown in a Minnesota orchard,
Oh,
right?
I love
That
I love
Honeycrisp.
that
Honeycrisp, the
but
king
the
of all
access to
Best.
apples.
those
Yeah,
apples,
goat
yeah,
apple.
that's a Minnesota U of M designed apple. But to
It
bring
is? I
that,
didn't know
yeah,
that.
yeah, that's
Go
something I
Golden
know for sure.
Gophers.
Yeah, gophers. How do you know about golden
Roll
I'll
gophers?
damn
tell you,
gophers.
I'll tell you, my grandfather, my mother's father owned a farm slash ranch in southern Minnesota, in outside of Owatonna.
Oh,
Like
damn,
that's
you do
how I
know
grew
about
up. So
Minnesota. Oh
yeah, I
shit.
know a
All
lot
right.
about rural farming and commercial farming
Okay,
ruining the
But
Midwest.
also,
Like I grew up listening to this.
okay,
also
but I'm not
Dustaroni,
trying to
no,
preach
but
anything that's
also, wait,
wholeheartedly
real
right
quick,
or left here.
something you maybe didn't know. So, like, you
No,
guys
it's
have
not right or
sports,
left. It's just a fact.
Right. Okay.
like you guys have sports teams and stuff. Here in Arizona, we can watch those live on. It's called television,
Shut
and
the
so
hell up,
we know
bro.
all about
You
the
are
Minnesota
definitely a
Golden
hockey
Gophers.
guy because you
It's so
chirp from
cool.
the seat like fucking crazy. You're a hockey guy, aren't you?
No, but I respect some chirp. I respect
Okay.
hockey.
All right.
I have
Fair enough.
Canadian
Let's watch
friends.
some Letterkenny later. All right. Catch you.
Yeah, my man.
Letter
So
Kenny. That
So
show's crazy.
here's I think another issue that's happening though with the advancement in energy technology, it's displacing a lot of farms as well because we need space to put up these solar farms, and these are 1,000-acre solar farms. They're taking up all of the space that is used for farming now, and they're going right through a lot of my towns here in Minnesota with this infrastructure bill that has a lot of advantages, but this is one of the disadvantages. They're using that money in towns all around where I live, and they're putting up a bazillion solar panels and fencing them off, and then the land is useless for farming, which is a huge source of livelihood here in Minnesota. What would you alt leftists? No, I'm just kidding. You're not alt leftists. What would
That's
you
funny.
We prefer communists. That's
what
we
would
prefer.
you communists propose to do about that? Because we can't keep destroying our agricultural lands and supplying food to the urban areas.
Yeah,
Well,
it's a good question. The number one thing you need to do is you need to probably undo the monopolies of factory farms, right? You need to take away these monopolies. You need to add, certainly you need to add all sorts of regulations. The amount of times. I mean, when was the last time you saw a chicken recall or a food recall from one of these? All the time,
All
and
the time.
they'll say things like it affects potentially 500,000 products. There's
We all have
potentially
our
five hundred
chickens here,
thousand
though.
products,
We all have our
right?
chickens in our backyards here, so we're good. But
I know. We all know
but
that.
you
We
city
know
people
Chicken
that.
are
coop.
really affected by that, aren't you? Aren't you really
Yeah,
affected by those recalls? Because you're kind of the reason that factory farms came up is the urban need for resources.
yeah. Like
No,
where
that's
we
called
live, we settled.
population growth, sir.
Well,
Like
right, but
that was
overgrowth,
population growth. Like I was gonna say, the
overgrowth
future
is,
of farming is actually probably if they can lower the cost is in vertical farming. It has to do with this the absolute spike in population of
yeah,
looking for different farming options.
yep,
I
I agree.
don't think it should be about farming should not necessarily be about privatized profit and how many what's happening is wrong, but yeah, it has to do with the spike in population.
I agree with that. I agree with that. And the more successful the cities are, the more the population is going to spike. Don't you agree?
Well, it's not the city, the overall birth rate. Like people are having children in rural areas too that need
Yeah,
food.
well, the
Like
density is still
it,
pretty low. Don't you agree? I mean, it's rural. Rural is low population
but that's not
density
how
by definition.
commodities and food distribution work on an economic scale, right? Like it's
Well,
not.
okay, so how does it
It's
work?
well, I mean, it like in one area, like the supply chain, it's not just like, oh, we only need this food here. Food is coming, like if you think your food is just coming locally, it's not. So that's my point. So
Wait, no,
surplus,
wait,
like
what?
it's not just to do with like our area isn't that overpopulated yet. So we don't need that much food. Like that's not how like commodities are
Well,
exchanged
okay,
or
so I
work.
don't know about commodities and exchanges like on a formal understanding like you do,
No,
but I
but
do
I just wanted, my
understand
only point was the
experience.
reason
Yeah,
farming is changing is there's not enough farmland in this country to support the population to provide enough food. But also we have food coming from all over, like Mexico,
all
Dole.
over.
It's
Yep,
not just, yeah, it's not just coming from in this country either. I don't want to give people that impression. Commodities are being exchanged from all over the world to provide our supply of food. Like grain is coming from literally all over the world. So it's a extremely complex thing. But our
sure.
spike in population has to do with commercial farming. It opened up another capitalistic industry, right? Farming was some of the first socialism in America. Farmers co-ops, like
I'm down
were
with that. I'm down with
yeah, are
that.
the
What
is the
happened to
first
people taking
socialism.
care of themselves like that? People were
And
taking care of themselves and each other. And now it seems
absolutely.
like the urban areas are leaning real hard on these rural areas that are producing a lot of their goods and then destroying them at the same time. That's what it seems like to me from a rural position.
I don't know if it's the urban city's fault. I think overall population spike
Oh,
in this country and the problem with capitalism in general, this is not a right or left thing, just we live in
sure.
an economic system called capitalism, is
Yep.
profit is king, right? So a company's
Yeah,
looking for
screw that.
privatized profit. The food needs to cost the least amount, right? And they need to pay the workers the smallest amount they can, and that's what it's about. So it becomes about commercial farm. I mean, what just happened?
Yeah, I
What's
feel
going on?
that.
How did that happen?
I don't know what's
Why you
happening.
expanding me? Why you expanding me like that? It makes me self-conscious. My rainbow is all big.
I know I feel the same way when I get put on that screen. I hate it.
Okay, all right. Well, I guess I've aired my grievance. That's really, I'm not in support of the grievance position of the right. I'm not, I'm not really in support of like the overarching, complete liberalism of all aspects of life either.
Well, get on board.
What do you mean, dude? I can be me, can I? I love
Embrace
you
it all. No,
guys.
you
I
can't.
love
You
everyone.
can't be you.
I think they
You
need
have to
to
go all the way
like
left.
Minnesota farmers need to create huge co-ops, like huge co-op organizations that can compete against commercial farming. Like that's what needs to happen. Large co-ops of farmers in America needs to be created to protect your interests.
Well,
That would be
how do we do that when
we
our
read
land is
books.
constantly being grabbed up by these ultra rich who are
Well,
not
that's when we would
invested in
need
the
government
communication
subsidy
at all.
programs. Like, let me answer you. Like, to
Yeah.
protect an industry, what we would want is the government to subsidize programs to protect small farmers by creating larger co-ops, right? And the government could loan them the money to buy the land in mass before it's snapped up by commercial real estate industry at lower interest rates. Like, that's what we want to vote for, is government subsidized programs that would protect and create farmers co-ops that could compete against larger scale commercial farming. Like, things like that are the answer. The government, who has the means, needs to help smaller farmers get into a conglomerate, a co-op, a work together company, a socialist company where everyone has a say, there's democracy in the workplace, and they need to subsidize it so
Well, yeah.
that farmers aren't pushed out by large commercial corporations.
Yeah.
There's
Amen.
there's other things you could
My
do
grandfather
if
would
you
be proud of that.
Hey, listen, I like
we're
that.
we're terrified of nationalizing things all the time, but they're like we could potentially run like grocery stores, and we could operate them at a loss if they were government funded, because we're already like we already
Yeah.
subsidize farmers. We're already spending billions to farmers for subsidies, and then those goods are going to probably a processor, a manufacturer who's going to manufacture the goods, put label and then you've got a
You got
distributor,
Cheerios, yeah.
all the and then you've got the wholesaler and the reseller, right? Every one of these people is taking profit. It would not be that difficult, and you would probably have to do this in small towns first, but to have the town say like, hey, the town owns the grocery store now, and you can buy Hostess, you can buy Kraft, you can buy whatever brands you want, but don't make a profit on them, right? Or
Sure.
just enough profit to pay for the workers. You can do that. There are solutions to all of these problems. First,
Well, who's
as a
advocating for that? I mean, which
well,
representative
they
is
did it in
advocating that?
Chicago. Chicago has a government-run grocery store. There was one. I was trying to find this story. There was one. It was in some tiny town, and I only knew about it because Tim Pool threw a fit about it.
Who the
Is it
hell is Tim Pool?
Ocean?
Oh,
Yeah,
you don't want to know.
I love that you said
Right,
that.
it's the right answer. That's the
I
right
hope that's your
answer.
answer forever.
Okay.
It was called. It was in, I think, in Mississippi, maybe. Anyways, or no, Florida. It was Florida. Here it is.
Same
Oh,
place.
damn it.
Same thing.
Florida.
It's the deep south, but they
Yeah.
opened a government subsidized grocery store. It was normal food. It was the same type of stuff, but the prices were cheaper. It allowed people to come in and buy meals for cheaper. It allowed them to purchase bigger quantities of food because they had the backing of the government, so they had a bigger checkbook. They could stock the store appropriately. We could do
Sure.
that. There would be nothing wrong with a city running a grocery store.
A
Why?
city? Wait,
And
what did you say? A city?
yeah, a city running a grocery
Oh,
store.
okay, I see. Okay.
Yeah, and the
You're a
city buys
grocery store.
maybe the city buys their produce from the local farmers around there. Maybe
Yep.
maybe and the federal government maybe has to subsidize that. That's fine. I have no problem with the federal government subsidizing food. I don't think
Well,
that
it's
food needs to be
pretty
a commodity
practical.
necessarily.
It's pretty practical. Everybody's got to eat, you know? I mean, what the hell?
But when we have food law, the grocery cartel, as it's known on K Street,
The
in
grocery,
that's what
big
it's called.
grocery.
Yeah, it's called the grocery cartel. Like
Fucking
ConAgra
Kroger's.
owns 22% of the shelf space in America.
Yeah, aren't they the
They
guys
they
that like
they
put
are the
out seeds
wholesaler,
that
they
don't?
are the manufacturer. They own every food you can think of. Oh, you think you're choosing between two products, all owned by the same company. Its name is ConAgra.
No, I choose
You,
from the
you,
tomatoes in
all
my
their all your
garden
money
and
is
the
going to
chicken
ConAgra.
eggs from my
And if
chicken
not
coop.
there,
That's what I.
the Heinz whatever merger. What is it? Heinz Kraft merger? One of
Yeah.
antitrust
Ketchup?
laws completely ignored there. That's the second largest in the grocery cartel. They own all the rest of the products. So if you want to, what you're buying, you're either giving your money to ConAgra or Heinz Kraft.
So continue to make my own tomato sauce and salsa and ketchup.
Yeah, and send some
I
our ways,
gotta come to your
Dusty.
house.
Anytime, you
I'll,
guys. You guys are punks, but I think I can get you through the gates.
I
well,
make my own
could you just
salsa
send it
too.
my way?
All right.
I'll
Indigenous
pay
Mexican
for.
here.
I'll pay the Pony Express fee. Just can you get
Jesus.
some sent to me? That'd be great.
God.
It'll be there in 2 months.
Yeah,
Yeah,
all
you'll
right.
be-
Just like when I was in the Navy, yeah, they just, a couple months and your cookies will be perfectly fresh and everything's great. Yeah.
Go for some
Awesome.
cookies.
Okay, well, all right.
I do.
I was gonna go into like pro-choice versus pro-life, but I don't want to start fighting. I feel like we've got a kumbaya situation here.
No, you're pro-choice, dude. You
No,
agree that
I'm
the
no, I'm
government shouldn't have a say.
well. So what I think is actually is that there should be more reverence given to the potential life of a fetus than just a free yeetus the fetus
Good.
mentality.
And should that reverence be mandated by the federal government, or is that something just as a society we should have more reverence for? Because I look, I don't have like a ton of friends. I don't go to a ton of parties. I've never once heard of somebody like throwing a "we're having an abortion party." Those seem to be like reverent moments. Those seem to be moments that are highly disruptive for the mental and physical health of the mother.
Yeah,
I think I think the lack of reverence is those casually saying that women are just using abortion as birth control, or that they're just casually discarding their baby that they gestated for 9 months, 3 days before their delivery
yeah,
date.
that's not
I think
happening.
that's the lack of
Those
reverence.
are
The real
outliers.
reverence,
Those are
the
very rare.
reverence should be, yeah, the reverence should be for freedom, for
For the
individuality, for the
mother.
rights of the
For
mother.
the
Do
Yeah,
you
yeah.
do you,
that's
can
where
I
the
just
reverence should
can I
fall.
offer something up though? Like as humans, human species, the great ape species that is Homo sapien, we have to also admit that we are self-serving, and there's got to be some sort of oversight when it comes to large like very weighty decisions like that, don't you
Okay,
think?
well, hold on. I just gotta say something because I have a uterus. Like,
Yeah,
to
okay.
say the least self-serving act on earth is giving birth. Like, are
I
you
know
out
that.
of your
Yeah, my wife.
mind?
Yeah.
Like, do you even hear what you're saying?
No, maybe
Literally,
you
the
misunderstood me.
sacrifice of a woman's body is not
No,
self-serving. Like, and
no,
at
I
some
understand.
point, like it is like women are known as the lesser sex. At some point, either
What?
trust us to make our own healthcare decisions, just like we trust you guys to know when you need Viagra. Like, we got this.
Yeah,
We
well,
have
listen,
brains.
I don't necessarily support legislators completely making things wholly inaccessible to women. I don't think that's right, and I do see that women are birthing children is not a self-serving thing. What I'm saying, and I think you misunderstood me here, is that when there is something that can serve us, there is a pull towards it. And that may draw um, potential life away from our priorities. You see what I mean?
A
Like
poll?
a pull. Like you push, I pull.
Well, you can't, like, I think what RGP said is right. You can't legislate reverence, though. Like, you
No,
can ask
sure.
nicely, you can say whatever you want, but you cannot police someone's reaction to, like, being with child and then not being with child. Like, it is a mourning process. It's heart-wrenching, it's grueling, it's something people never get over. Like, you can't
Hmm.
police people's reactions
Yeah,
to having their bodies, to losing autonomy over their body.
I
Like,
agree with
you
you.
you just
I
can't.
mean, I
But
don't
you
disagree with
and you
that.
can't you can't legislate culture, right? Like, so,
Oh,
like, that's the
yes.
thing. And we can say,
You
God,
kind
we
of
should,
can.
yeah.
Kind of can.
No,
Kind
you
of
can
can.
try, but you
Yeah,
actually
right.
can't.
Well, so
And that's
like
why the government
capitalism is
has us caught up
culture
in
in
these culture
America.
wars. We're just arguing something that can't really be policed. Like, I just want you to know, like, studies have been done. If you ban
Okay.
abortion, there's not less abortions happening. It's just now they have become unsafe for the mother.
I agree.
Now
Listen,
that now illegal
I
abortions
don't
are happening,
support
unsafe
banning
abortions.
abortions.
So
That's
you're not
not my
actually
position.
I'm just saying, if you're looking to save the fetus, you're not saving any.
I'm not
That's
trying
just
to, no, I'm not
okay.
trying to save a fetus. What I'm trying to do is just make a plea is all I'm doing. Make a plea.
I think one of the important things to remember when you're thinking about like policies that you support, and you mentioned earlier, you said people are self-serving. It's true, we are self-serving naturally, and in a lot of ways that's okay, but the laws should not be, right?
Okay.
And one of the more difficult things to do is look at a law that you disagree with personally on a personal level,
Uh-huh.
right? So
Yeah.
like you yourself could be, you could say like the worst thing I could imagine was that my wife or girlfriend comes to me and says like I'm pregnant, I'm getting an abortion. That's fine. Like you can have those feelings. But what we can't do is start legislating our own feelings when our feelings don't match the feelings of others, and our feelings don't match the consequences of others, and our feelings don't match the outcomes of others. That's when you look at the laws, if you start advocating that people lose their rights because it makes you feel uncomfortable or something you disagree with, then you're giving permission for your rights to be stripped away as well. You cannot be a person who promotes freedom. You cannot be a person who promotes like small government and also be pro-life. You can't be both of those things.
I'm not. I'm
You
not.
can't.
I'm not. I'm not.
Yeah.
I
I wasn't
think,
saying
yeah, but I do
specifically to
actually.
you. I'm just saying in
I
general.
see your position. I see your position, and I agree with you. I don't think we can legislate reverence or advocate for pro-life while also advocating for small government. I see those points. So, all right. So we didn't fight. Maybe a little tiff, but all right. Okay, I'm gonna get out of your guys' hair. I appreciate you letting me up. I'm sorry if it was a little bit less than you were hoping for. I hope you
Go
find somebody to
Gophers.
beat up on. Thank you. Appreciate it.
That's all right. Hey, have a good day in
Bye.
your igloo or hut, whatever you guys live in out
Shut
there
up,
in
city
Minnesota.
In
guy.
your ice cave.
Whatever, man.
Yeah, ice cave. See ya.
Guys,
I
tap the
might.
screen. Let's get to 240K. And if we would love to talk to a Republican for the remainder of the show. If you would like to talk to us, please request.
Maybe we could get some more people talking about your uterus. That it's fun for me. I get to just sit
It's
back
very
and listen to
uncomfortable.
you
It's
calmly.
unreal, though. I mean, it continues to amaze me. Like, people without uteruses are wildly concerned with the doctor's appointments of people with uteruses. It's just unreal. Like, I don't want to go to your doctor appointment. Like, please don't come to mine.
Okay, I was gonna invite you to my doctor's appointment.
Okay.
I have to get a physical tonight.
Okay.
This is weird. So I was supposed to get an annual physical for Adderall because it's a controlled substance, and I scheduled it. I thought I was going into the doctor, and then they're like, "No, you can just do it over the phone." And now I'm a little bit concerned with what I'm about to do
Do
over
an
the
annual
phone. I don't know
physical
what
over the phone.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I've only
might
had a
have to
physical.
get weird.
I've only had sports physicals, and I know that the things that happened in that physical cannot be done over the phone unless
you have
I
to
am
do
gonna
them
be
to
walked
yourself.
through.
Yeah,
That's what I'm wondering. Do I have to walk through the process
probably.
myself?
No, you've probably
This is
done
why
something
I was
similar.
going to ask you. Would you mind like just waiting outside the door? So I had
I
a
will.
little bit
I'll
of
hold your
support. You don't
hand
have to
through
be
it.
in
I don't
there.
actually want to touch your hand after, but I will support you emotionally through the process.
I don't think there's a scenario where you would want to touch my hand. I don't.
Yeah,
Is there
neither
a
one of us
scenario?
seem like hand holders.
You're not a hand holder, right? There's no way.
No, I'm not a hand holder. I haven't
so
been in the past.
stupid.
I feel like I'm changing a lot, but no.
I think, well, yeah. Do you think so?
I haven't been in a relationship, well, a healthy one, in ever. So I don't know what to tell you. Like, I'm batting zero. You're batting zero. We really are not the experts to talk about whether you should be holding hands or anything you should be doing in relationships because we don't know.
Could you picture yourself? Could you
What?
picture yourself? Sorry, some Discord. Sorry. Could you picture yourself just like let's say like an fishing shelter on Schofield Reservoir,
Oh,
holding hands and ice
bad views.
fishing? Could you picture that?
Yeah, I suppose so, if no one's watching. Like, I just don't. Yeah.
No, you keep going.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm not saying I've never held someone's hand.
But did you enjoy it or did you hate every moment of it?
Yeah, it's like, I don't know what we're doing.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's weird. Something's wrong with us.
do you wanna take the last
like, this
15
is what,
minutes?
no, let me just say, like, really quick about this. Like, I don't know what your childhood was like, but I was never hugged once. Like, I never, like, patted on the hand. I never held hands with my mom walking down the street. Like, I have no idea what healthy touch is, just to be clear. So, like, I know where my shit came from. Like, I've been in therapy for a long time. Like, I was never hugged, like, never, Like, I think it's normal for other people. Just if that is outside your experience, it seems weird.
I just have sweaty hands. My hands just sweat, and
Yeah. The
I
clammy,
realized this.
clammy hands.
I realized this about myself recently. My best friend growing up, like until I was in high school, then we weren't really. He was a year younger, so we weren't as close. But he would shower like 9 times a day, and the worst thing you could do around their family is have any sort of odor that they didn't like. If you fart, your feet, your sweat, your breath, anything. Yeah, and they were ruthless about it. So I developed this like I brush my teeth like 5 times a day. I shower at least twice a day. I'm consistently like smelling my hands, smelling my arm. Like I'm terrified of smelling bad. It's my biggest fear. And it was like my neighbors instilled that in me because if you smelt at all, they would just trash you. Like I knew all the neighbors they didn't like were based on that they thought their house smelled.
They had
It
like
was
genetically like engineered smell that was, you know what I mean, that had been passed
I don't
down from like generations in a familial line. Like that's crazy. That seems
I
I
need to be
could see
clear.
how
I
that
don't
would
brush
traumatize you is what I'm saying. I kind of
and I don't brush my teeth 5 times a day every day, but if I'm home all day, I will brush my teeth 5, 6, 7 times. Like anytime I think that my breath is bad, I'm just gonna go brush my teeth. Created a real problem. But my mom did hug me. If that
yeah, no,
to
but I get
bring
what
that
you're saying.
back
Yeah.
full circle, she did hug me. Not my sister gave me my first hug when I was 18. She's not a hugger, so I get that. You remind me of my sister quite a bit, actually. Except for you're far more jaded. She's still
Dead
kind of
inside.
holding it together.
We've moved on from
Yeah,
jaded. We're in
she's
the
got like
neighborhood of
12
dead
kids.
inside.
Yeah. Do you want to open it up for just general Q&A for the last 15?
Sure. Guys,
All right, we
tap
can
the
do that.
screen. Let's get to 255K. Let's get to try to get to over 300K before 15 minutes is over, actually, is a good goal.
These are going to be quick rapid fire. TMB 13.
How's it going, man?
Welcome.
I had a random conversation the other day. My kid's 14 and he's in like debate class. And I was talking with one of my cousins about school shootings and AR-15 bans and stuff like that. And he's the type that's like, oh, Second Amendment, that's it. No different. And I was like, well, what about just banning the AR-15, maybe regulations? And he's like, no, because we need to defend ourselves against the government, this, all that stuff. And my son, which out of nowhere, I never thought about this. He's like, well, if it's so easy to get guns like that illegally, why not just let them pass these laws to protect the kids? And then you could just go get your gun illegally and just keep it in case you need to defend yourself. And it left him standing there just clueless. I was like, well played.
Yeah, there's no
Because
good
their argument is always
argument.
like, oh,
Go ahead.
right. But he was like, to appease his argument, like, oh, yeah, the criminals can get them anyways, so why ban them? And he's like, well, to appease his argument, he said, well, how about we ban them? We'll try and protect kids in school. And then if you really need one, just go get one illegally since it's so easy to do. Just go do that. And it
Shout out
just
to
shut
your
his
kid,
argument.
by
It
the
shut
way.
him down. And I was like, that was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, that was amazing.
That's a proud moment,
I
right?
was like, well played. Yeah, I was a proud dad right there. But he's in
Well done.
debate,
Well
so
done.
he gets that part pretty well.
I
So
love
that's a
him. I
funny
love him
argument if you ever
already.
get someone give the argument of like, oh, well, the criminals get them anyways. So that's just a random
We'll
take
send you
that I thought
revenue
was
every
pretty cool.
time we use that. We'll send you a piece of the revenue every time we use your son's
Well,
argument.
I'll give it to my kid for his college because he's a smart kid.
W sounds like it. W.
Yeah, it's amazing. All right, man.
Good talking to
Have
you
a
again.
good day.
Yeah, we'll see it.
You too.
Jen, you can allow anybody in if that's what you're
Yeah,
asking.
the criminals get the guns from the the company, the corporations, you know, like the cartels that we arm, and then complain about the border after we've
Yeah, did
armed
you
the
see Dan
cartel. After
Goldman?
American corporations armed the cartels, then we
Did you
complain
see Goldman
about the
talking
war
about
on
that?
drugs and the border. Yeah, I love Dan Goldman. He's my
When he was
god,
talking about the
one of them.
border security, and he's like, "How come there's nothing in here addressing that? Almost like 90% of those weapons that come over and commit violence against American citizens were sold.
There's one gun
in
store
America.
in all of Mexico. Is his, you know,
Where is
they and like all studies have shown if we want to reduce violence at the border, if we want to control the cartels, we will starve them of weapons that they are getting from America. But no one will make that argument on the right because of NRA lobbyist dollars. They can't. The way to stop the cartels is just to disarm them because we are arming them. So Dan Goldman and two other, I can't remember their names, two other legislators brought a bill to stop arming the cartels because that would actually solve a problem. But the Republicans are not
Yeah,
interested in solving any problems.
yeah, maybe we legalize the things that they traffic and stop selling them weapons, and then see what they do. We'll just
Exactly.
have they'll all go into avocados, and that'll
No
drive the price
demand,
of
no
avocado.
supply.
That'll drive avocado prices down. We'll all be living off of avocado toast. It'll be lovely. I'll have eggs every morning with fresh avocado. That sounds
The
delightful.
the avocado industry is actually scary in Mexico. I don't know what you know about
Yeah,
it, but people are
that's what
dying.
I'm
People are
saying.
dying over
Because
avocados.
yeah, like a lot of the cartel from California, when California and Arizona now have legalized marijuana, that dried up an entire section of the cartel's business. And so they didn't start avocado farms, by the way. They just took avocado farms that were
Yeah,
already in
they've
business.
they
They're like, this is ours now.
we're going into avocado farms.
Dusty, we do not like how I say avocado. Avocado? How do you say it? I'm saying avocado.
Avocado.
All right, thank
No,
you.
it's
Well,
avocado. You say it wrong.
sorry about that. I'm sorry to everybody.
Yeah, you should be. Um,
Thank you.
Felice, what are you? So you were just talking about violence at the borders. Has Is there some news that I've been missing about violence that's been happening
No, just ongoing cartel violence that's been going
at the
on since we've
borders?
been
When
spending
is it?
billions upon billions of dollars in border states with the US. Yes, there are zones controlled, like the passageways, not in tourist sections. That's the one the Mexican government and the cartels have agreement. Like since I'm from like the indigenous tribe my grandmother is from is in the border state of Sonora. Like there are tourism zones where the cartels have agreed with the Mexican government where US citizens are not to go, but there's crossways like that the cartel controls and there's violence in them. Like many border states absolutely are controlled by cartel violence
Okay,
100%.
I
There's
was gonna
trafficking,
say
there's all
'cause
sorts of things going on.
I live in San Diego and we cross the Tijuana border all the time and feel pretty safe. But I guess that's what you just said. Like that's a tourist. That's a
But if
huge.
you don't think the cartels are in Tijuana, that's delusional.
I didn't say that. I don't think the cartels
Okay,
are involved,
yeah, I mean they are, but you're right.
but they have no
There's
interest in
there's
hurting
there's a very high
Americans. Like
penalty
we're a
for the
big part of their
cartel messing
industry.
with U.S. Citizens because that's a direct provocation with the U.S. government. Like that is the deal. Leave tourists alone. That's why when some are caught in the
Yeah, why would
crossfires or
they?
kidnapped, all of a sudden you
We
see
bring
it
in
on the
all the
news
money
because
for them.
that's a
We're
breaking
their
of the agreement, the
customers.
unspoken agreement between the cartels, the Mexican government, and the U.S. government, which is leave U.S. tourists alone.
Yeah, we're the cartel customers. So why would they want to do anything to
Oh yeah, that we're the
discourage
demand.
us
We're the
from going into
demand.
their
They're the
country?
supply.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not sure like where they're getting their guns. Your argument on that. I'm not really following that.
You don't know that US gun companies supply the cartel with their weapons?
Well, they supply everyone. They supply
But that's
all
no,
countries
the
with weapons.
cartel gets their weapons from American gun manufacturers.
Yeah, but where do you think Ukraine and a whole bunch of other
Oh,
countries
if
around the
you're no,
world?
I'm just telling you what I'm telling you. Like that's another thing. The U.S. is the United States of America is the largest arms dealer in the world. We are Lord of War. Like
USA.
there is no
USA.
any small arms dealer.
USA.
Like we're like, oh, this we released a Russian arms dealer. The largest, scariest, biggest, baddest arms dealer in the world is this country. That's what we do. We arm both sides of conflicts and let them destroy each other. Like so. Yes, that is true. That has nothing to do with what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the Republican argument about Marjorie Taylor Greene saying we need to enter a sovereign country and go to war with cartels. All we could simply do is not arm them.
Wait, I didn't hear that part. What was what was she saying?
Marjorie Taylor Greene, Ron DeSantis, the entire Free Dumb Caucus, their solution to the cartels is to enter a sovereign nation of Mexico and go to war.
Well, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. But
And
yeah,
all we would have to do is go against the gun lobby and tell them to stop selling weapons to the cartels. But we won't
After the
do that.
after the Republican debates, I think it was let me see. I want to say it was foreignpolicy.com. Let me see. Yeah, they wrote an article. It was basically it was in response to the Republican debate, but they didn't say it. But the headline was America shouldn't invade Mexico. That was the whole thing. Like, and they had to put that article out because a bunch of Republicans were like, "Let's just invade Mexico, guys. Like, we'll just go down there.
No
We'll
problem.
we'll take the military. We'll I don't know. Hopefully that the border check we can get through. Maybe we'll blow a hole through the wall ourselves or the fence. But we're just gonna go down there. We're gonna get them." And people are like, I can't. I'd imagine Antonio de Laura Bruce was like, I have to write what fucking article? I have to write an article
yeah,
explaining why we
yeah.
shouldn't invade. Okay, and then they had to write it,
No, this is
and it
why.
really was like, it was like Mexico is our trading partner. They are not attacking us. We should not invade. They had to make it like a full page. It was one of the silliest
Also, we
articles I've
gave
ever
them the
seen. But
weapons that with
yeah,
which they
it
are
needed to be
committing the
said.
crimes.
But this is why it's you guys have such an easy job because Republicans constantly are doing things that just draw this massive target right on their foreheads and on their backs, and it's like, are you kidding me? And some of the completely right people, unfortunately, are in the lower like intelligence group, and
I knew you were
they
gonna say
yeah, they're just in the lower intelligence like side, right?
group, the lower intelligence group.
This is starting
Is
to
that a
sound like
place?
eugenics. Be careful. Be
All
careful.
right,
Don't send
sorry,
us into
sorry.
eugenics.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying like
We know. We get
okay,
it.
but there's a group of people on the way right that no matter no matter what side you're on, even if you are a Republican, you don't like that small group because they are just constantly making the party look ridiculous. And I don't think that
Yeah,
Republicans.
but the difference is they handed the keys to those people. That's the difference between Republicans of old and Republicans now. Is before the Republicans would be like, "Hey, David Duke, why don't you shut the fuck up and just like hide in the shadows?" Cool. And like Marjorie Taylor Greene's like, "It's fine. She's not a problem. She's on YouTube. We can dismiss her." And then the Republicans are like, "Oh, we have Trump now. Let's bring all the crazies and let's put them in positions of power." The problem the Republicans have now is that the people they used to ignore, the people that embarrass them, are also in charge. So it's a tricky thing because all the sensible people poll at like 1%, and all the lunatics are like taking turns driving the bus with their feet.
Okay.
I just got. It's like I heard it and then it got
Yeah.
funnier.
So I mean, yeah, the two A argument. I don't know. I think I disagree with Felice on like her opinions on like restricting the sales and stuff regarding that, but I don't want to talk about
to
that too much because there's too
to
many
people.
keywords
No,
that I don't
listen.
want to
Let
say.
me just tell
But
you something. If we were gonna declare war, right, on someone, okay, wouldn't part of war be, oh wait, we gave them those weapons, let's just not give them weapons and then the problem's solved? Like, why would you go any farther when we could easily just cut off their supply of weapons with which they are committing crimes? Like, we're talking about criminals. We're talking about a criminal organization with which the United States of America, the Republican Party, is loudly and illegally declaring we should enter a sovereign country to go to war with. The simple solution is just take away the weapons we're selling them. We don't need to lose American soldiers' lives. We simply stop selling them weapons. But you are advocating that no, we should just give an illegal organization
I'm just
weapons.
saying that, like, how would you police that? You would have to make it so there's certain exports that can't
Well,
go
that's they
into
brought.
that
They're bringing a
country.
bill. A bill has just been brought in Congress. That's the point by Dan Goldman. It would have to be legislated.
Yeah, but I mean, now you're going to have to
Capitalism would
nitpick
have to be
what is
regulated.
exported and
Hey,
imported
hey,
into the U.S.
capitalism, we
again.
have a border war going on. Please stop arming. Hey, capitalistic weapons industry, we have a border war going on. We're going to need you to please stop arming our adversary for the time being. It's making us hard to fight this border war. Please. That would have to be
And
legislated.
and I like how you're saying please too. I like that. That's very respectful.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I
In
guess I
wartime,
just don't see how
capitalism
that.
changes, all bets are off, right? The Republicans are saying we're at war. Are we at war? Should we deprive the enemy of the weapons with which they're hurting us with or not?
Wait, who are we
It's
at
kind of
war
you
Make
with?
got to
it
kind of
make
pick a lane
sense.
there. We're at war or we're not. But if we are at war, maybe don't give your enemies the way. The same people, they're like, we left things behind in Afghanistan. Oh, impeach Joe Biden. They're like, but we should also arm the cartels. That's because they too have a Second
But
Amendment right.
okay, but what I'm saying is,
Everybody has a right to a
And the
punitive.
Second Amendment does not extend to the people in Mexico, where guns are illegal. There is one gun store, and there is an 6 to 8 month waiting period for a weapon.
but hold on.
Real quick,
Yeah. Okay.
the right to own a firearm is God given, Felice. So there are no borders.
Yeah,
Choose
you
have
said
them.
my
Okay.
2A
Wow.
argument. My
You went
2A
there.
argument does not apply to criminals in another country where the weapons we're selling them are in fact illegal. Do you
No, that's still
understand that,
God given.
Dusty?
That's still God given. No, no. What I think, Felice, is that is it really the situation where someone from the cartel is placing an order with an American company saying, "I am the cartel. Please supply me with 300x." It's like, no, it's probably some other organization that
Yeah,
has
what other
legitimate
organization
purchasing
is? Yeah,
power.
what other organization? What type of organization would need to be ordering like, uh, uh in bulk, like
Oh, hold on. They
armor,
know who
assault
these are
weapons?
shell companies
The-
and they can follow the money and they can stop it from happening. Like, what are you talking about? We
Okay, so
absolutely
can
can
you
stop this from
show me
happening
which
through
shell
forensic
companies you're
accounting.
talking
If you're
about?
saying it's impossible to
Which
tell where
shell
these guns are
companies?
going, it very much is not. They have serial numbers. Right? They're used in crimes. Like, please don't underestimate like the FBI and the CIA and the forensic accountants and the
But the
IRS. This very much, and this is you can read the bill that is being brought in Congress to stop this from happening. Like studies have been done on this. This is not just me musing about it.
Okay,
Read the
so the
bill.
solution would be to all these shell companies that we're currently selling to can't be sold to, or we can't export anything to Mexico that has to do with firearms, right? That's the solution.
I'm going to say this again. It's
no,
illegal to
not
export
necessarily.
firearms to a place where firearms are illegal, right? They're getting them in the country. Like we're not exporting assault weapons to Mexico.
Wait, so how are they
It's
buying
not
them?
going through customs, and they're like, check.
Here's the
What's
assault
this?
weapons for the
Oh,
cartel.
it's a barrel of ARs. Oh yeah, they did order a barrel of ARs.
I guess I'm just confused on how we're getting it to them through legal means, right? Because now you want to pass a bill to do something to stop something
It's not
illegal?
always legal means, right? So
You want to do something to stop something that's
no,
illegal. I don't
no, hold on,
understand that.
hold on. It's not, hold on. It's not always through legal means. A lot of the times that these shell companies, these cartels, they're actually paying American companies and Americans to bring the weapons to them. So they purchase it through these American companies. Again, like, dude, our government knows when you itch your ass. It is not difficult for them to figure out where these weapons, when they're being sold, where they wind up. It really isn't that difficult. We already know where the nobody's even arguing that that's how the weapons are getting to the cartel. I've never heard anybody on either side be like, "No, I don't think it's us." I don't, because again, every time we find the weapons, they have the serial numbers on them. And we know we can go back and we can track that. So then we can, because our purchases are tracked by serial number, they're supposed to be. We can track who we sold it to and how and who was the last person that bought it, and then we can say like if the last person who bought 50,000 of these weapons that we keep finding is the same person, that's the
We won't
criminal.
sell to that
It's really not
company
that difficult.
anymore.
Yeah.
Okay,
You
yeah,
know what
that's
I'm
what I was
saying?
It's
saying.
not like
And
it's not
then
like we're
if
riding
they
a
do,
it's
and if these weapons keep showing up in crimes, then they're heavily fined. We regulate capitalism for once to save lives. or to solve the problem that the Republicans continue complaining about. Like, this is what, do you want it to stop or not? It can easily be tracked. We can easily stop it. Do you want it to stop?
I mean, yeah, I want all violence to stop, but wish in one hand, right? Yeah,
No, it sounds like every Republican I've ever talked. Like, I want violence to stop, but it can't, so I'll just fucking do nothing. Yeah, no, support this. Like, why would you not support this?
well, I'm just trying to understand the logistics of it before I support it, right? Because it's like, okay, so
Okay,
now,
where do we not understand
well,
it
I
yet?
guess
Then
I'm
are we
just not
still do we still have a
understanding the
disconnect?
audit trail of how we figure out how those, because now those guns are illegally being transported across the
Okay,
border.
so no, let me
So
just
how do we
explain it
find
to you.
out where
Let
they're
me
coming
explain it to you.
from?
A company, wherever that
I
company is,
understand
buys
serial
buys an
numbers.
assault rifle. That assault rifle is used in a crime by a Mexican cartel. It shows up in a crime. They trace that serial number back to that batch of guns that was sold, and they no longer sell to that company.
Okay, understood.
Period.
And
And if
then
they
and
do,
then they
then they're
don't have
heavily
any other
fined.
sources. So you're going to be playing a game of whack-a-mole because another shell company that they own will have another
No, but
person
this can
who
be
buy
attacked.
the
That's
gun.
just one way. Is forensic accounting backwards? It also goes forwards. This is not that. So you're saying we should not regulate any of this? It's not whack a mole. Forensic accounting is not whack a mole.
No, I'm just saying
Like,
as soon as
there's
you find
also
one
they.
source,
I
there's going
mean,
to
we
be
could go on
another.
to how investigations happen. There's
Wait,
investigations happen. There's informants. There's ways of figuring this stuff out. Like, please don't pretend like this is impossible.
But I think
You have to
I'm
think
not
past
you
that.
you
saying
Do
it's
you
don't,
want to
possible.
solve the problem or not? There is you can
Dusty.
go read a bill after this call about how to solve that problem. Will you still say no when you read the legislation?
I'm
Like,
not sure.
it's
I don't
on
know.
the table. The bill's been written. But do you want to solve the problem or not? It's Congress is saying, "Hey, we have common sense, a common sense way. All the studies show stopping the flow, stopping to arm the cartels through American gun companies will solve this problem. Will severely reduce this issue more than any other way. Here's this bill that's been brought to the floor. Do you support it or not, Dusty? Just make a decision. Stop trying to be a contrarian and poke holes in things. Do you support it or not? If
I
think
haven't
tanks
read
are
it.
saying this is how you solve the problem, do you want the problem to stop, or do you want the cartels to continue what they're doing?
I would want the government to stop any illegal selling of firearms, whether that be like trickle down. So if there was a legitimate audit trail of, yeah, this company bought these guns and then it ended up here, I would say, yeah, let's put in legislation to make that stop.
Yeah, that exists.
Okay, so that
That we
exists.
that thing you're talking about, that are, yeah, because again, you're tracking by serial number. The reason that weapons have serial numbers is so that we can track the sale, right? And we can track where it came from. So again, every time that there is an act of cartel violence and we recover the weapons, 90% of the time, the weapon that we recover was sold by it from an American gun manufacturer and possibly through a retail store. Could have been sold legally. It could have been sold then after somebody bought it. It could have been sold privately. But either way, we're tracking that. We know the last person who bought them, and it's not that when the same last person who bought something, or a person, or it keeps, or like multiple weapons show up that it was the same company or the same person that was the last purchaser, it's a pretty good indicator that that person is taking those weapons and selling them to the cartel.
Yeah, so
You take away that person's right to own a gun, you take away that person's license to ever open a business where they sell firearms ever again. It's not as simple as them going on LegalZoom, starting a new LLC, and popping up. That's the whack-a-mole you're talking about. No, you actually go after these people. You put them in jail. They become co-defendants for the crimes committed with the weapon that they sold illegally. You go after them, and you go after them really, really hard. That one will get people. That will take the everyday person who doesn't want to go to jail for life and say, like, I'm going to be more careful with that. And the people who are actually trafficking guns, you're going to put them away. When you catch them, you're going to put them away for a very, very long time.
It's like a simple investigation. It goes small fish to big fish, small fish to big fish, right? When
but
one
if we're
doesn't want to
currently
go to
doing
jail, they
that,
flip on their boss. Like, these investigations happen all the time, and
this
they
like
could actually.
conversation slipped like from one thing that I was saying to us kind of talking about something else, because we're already doing these audits, and we're trying to track people that last had arms that ended up being used in violent
And then we're
crimes.
getting the
So what
information, and
is
the
with this
information is
bill?
saying, oh, these
I
arms
don't
came from
understand what the new
America, and
bill
then we're
does.
not doing anything about it. We're advocating, instead of just auditing, now we do something about it. That's the difference. You're right. The only reason we have this data is because we've done audits, because we've done forensic analysis. But we're now saying, now let's do something about it.
From the
Now we
top
have to
down
put laws in
and the
place to
bottom up.
stop this.
Yeah.
Just knowing it exists doesn't fix
Okay,
anything.
so
Now we know it
so this
exists,
bill
so
is
it's time
about
to fix
creating
it.
action on those audits. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, yeah. So
Yep.
why would I disagree with that?
That's what
We
we
have
were
no
Yeah,
asking.
no,
idea
That's
why
what
you
we, that's
wouldn't
what,
want to
I
stop the flow of guns into a country where guns are legal and we're arming cartels that are
I just
using
didn't
them in
understand
wars
how
against
that would be
our border.
possible to
I
a
mean,
country that
well, it's
doesn't
very
have exports
possible.
to it.
It's
That's why I was
absolutely
confused.
possible.
Because the way I see it is just gets confusing. I mean, with using forensic audits, I understand that. It's just then you're going to start getting, the argument that the Republicans are going to come up with are going to be like, oh, now you have to not sell guns to Americans. That's what they're going to say.
No,
well,
listen, it's very simple. Then
what?
don't no.
You guys literally
If you're
just
using
said,
if you're trafficking weapons
you just
into
said that the
or
people
part
that are
if you're
buying from
part of a
America are
chain,
putting
if
it
you're
into
American or
Mexico.
not, let me just say something. If you're an American or not, which
You
this
just
is a
said
very
that,
common
Jay.
thing. Listen, if you're an American who is part of a chain of a trafficking operation of trafficking
You're a
weapons into a
criminal. You should
country
go to
where
jail.
weapons are illegal, you absolutely should go to jail. Like, what are you talking
Absolutely.
about?
Yeah. I don't know how we ended up here, but
So what are you saying? You're saying that the Republicans are going to say, "Oh, so we can't sell guns
no.
to." Like, are you saying that Republicans are going to argue that we're taking away their right to own
Okay,
guns?
so how this all started was I wasn't sure on how we would stop selling guns that ended up in Mexico because there's no exports of guns there, because it's illegal to own firearms there in the first place. So how do we find that? You guys told me about these audits. Most likely, American companies or American people are purchasing these guns. So the problem is if there's a bill going to come into play, it's going to be restricting Americans from buying guns prior to the crime.
No,
So
that's
that's
not what the bill says, Dusty. Read the
okay.
No,
bill.
Exactly.
wait.
The
I've
bill
asked
says
you.
nothing like
I've
that.
asked
So
you what
just
the
read the
bill says.
bill.
I'm trying to understand
Wait.
what the bill
Hold
says.
on. Hold on, Dusty. We're talking about no. We're talking about the guns that are recovered when there's a crime committed. When you get those weapons and you recover them and you trace the serial number and you trace it back to an American, you prosecute then. This is not before they commit the crime. We're not. You're not.
Okay.
You can't charge them before you commit the crime. We're saying, but then you make an example and you prosecute the shit out of the American. Like at the end of the day, the Americans selling these weapons to the cartels are just as culpable as the cartels that are committing the violence, and they should be treated as
I just don't
such.
understand how they're not already being someone that owned the guns
That,
previous to a violent
Have you ever
crime.
heard of the NRA? Have you ever heard of the gun
yeah,
lobby? Like, do you
yeah,
That's
understand it's the
crazy
very
most
though. That
powerful.
seems
powerful? It's
crazy that
part
they
of the
wouldn't be
three,
prosecuted.
the Holy Trinity. Like, like the gun, it's one of the strongest three lobbies in the country. Like, that's
It actually replaced the Holy Ghost in the Trinity. It's God, Jesus,
Wow.
and the NRA. It's
the
I don't know if you
Holy
knew that.
Trinity is alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. Like, that's the holy
We've
lobby and
went 12
Trinity. If
minutes.
anyone's curious about what I'm talking about, the three most powerful lobbies, and then Big Pharma.
Dusty, I'm going to bounce real quick. We're 12 minutes over. I went past my
Oh,
hard
sorry, I didn't
cutoff.
even
I
realize.
appreciate that. Felice, congratulations on becoming more popular today. Congratulations to me on becoming less popular today. Any last words?
No, I think this was a successful day for me.
Guys, the replay will be up in a few hours on YouTube. Yesterday's got up a little late. Make sure that you follow us there. Tomorrow night we're hosting the Republican debates. That'll be it's 6 or 6:30. I can't remember. Is it 6 or 6:30?
Oh, I don't know. Let's
I
get
think
back to
6.
you. Yeah, it's early.
I think it's 6 p.m. My time, 5 Pacific. But we'll be hosting that over on YouTube, so check us out there. The link for YouTube is in my Linktree bio. So go to my bio on TikTok, hit the Linktree, and you can get over to YouTube. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter as well. That will be fun. Follow Felice if you're not. If you're not following Felice, you're an idiot. She puts up great content every single day on her own. Multiple videos every day. She does a ton of research. She does all the research for this. I show up and do virtually nothing, which is why Felice is more popular than me. But Felice, thank you for today.
Anyways, bye guys. Have a great day.
See you guys. We'll see you guys all tomorrow.